Good evening, Cryptid fans. We got another good one from Michigan tonight, man. For sure. I apologize for being late. My fault. Family stuff.
Well, you and I both had
Yeah,
fires we were putting out, so
pretty much. But anyway, it's all good. We're here. We got a first time guest for us for sure. But I think as the subject overall, I think this I'm going to call him a young man. He looks pretty young yet compared to my age. But anyway, we're looking for some exciting stuff. He's got some encounters. I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to let him tell all about it. But no actual sightings. But I think he's got some good stuff coming up and for us to hear. And how's Jeffrey tonight? Or Milkman you're going by tonight, I see.
well, that's technically what I am. So
You're something. We'll leave it at that. But anyway. Anyway.
just the normal stuff you got to deal with at the barn when it's frozen.
Subarctic.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I remember this.
Arctic tundra this week.
Yep, I remember. David Blaylock, good to see you back, brother.
You too, man.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you here. I called to get you on that Beards and Boogers show the other night, Sunday night, I guess.
I know. I guess that's part of being in Oregon. You're out of service. You're out of service.
Yeah, I guess so. But I always forget.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to say, David. We've been waiting for you to come on here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was in the chat last week, pretty hyped to talk about, especially the area where I live. That's like exciting for me that can literally just go wander off in the woods and it's possible you might see something. So,
well, guess what? Everybody, this is David Wildfong.
Wildfong, yes, correct.
Wildfong, okay. Skin Kwando, he is. You'll see in the chats. But and if you got any questions for him, by all means, put them in caps, and I'll get him listed for him. I'm not sure if he can see chat on his screen or not, but we'll get him out there for him to read it. But appreciate everybody being in there. I know Brother Roger's out there live tonight too, so jump back and forth, support us both. We appreciate it. We stand behind Roger, and I know he stands behind us as well, and I know he's got a good guest as well too. So, well, I know we got a good guest nobody's heard from before, and as soon as he gets back, we're gonna go him loose.
I'm just realizing I need to plug it in.
Oh yeah, that would be a good idea. Don't mind my hair tonight, folks. I'm supposed to get a shower, but when I was getting ready to get a shower.
That's why I just threw a hat on, because I literally came in the door.
I had a hat on, but it looks like it cuts me off right above my glasses with that virtual background. So and
you still got the beard. You still got beards and boogers on behind you.
No, I had to. If I put the other one on, you can't see me for whatever reason with a hat on. So I'll probably jump out and change that once he gets going. So, but
yeah, my apologies.
No, you're okay, David. You're fine. I'd rather have you fix it now than go dead on us.
I know, right? I actually meant to do this before.
Dad, I have hair. It just looks terrible. That's why I have to put the hat on.
Yeah, it's been a day.
Phew.
I am blown away. John Lamb, you're in the chat, and everybody in chat. Sharon, Blackie, brother Blackie's in the chat, and I'm sure Erica's not far away. Bigfoot Bud, good to see you, brother. And Denise, again, Sharon, Sean Collins.
Sean's in there.
Sean is a beast.
Gary's in there.
He's had 3 Dogman encounters. We've heard his stories before, and several other. I saw Spencer was in here too.
I'm sure it's cold in Belgium, Sharon. Good Lord.
Man. The area blowing my mind is way down south along the Gulf Coast. Man,
yeah, John and Phyllis are really getting some snow.
Yes, they are. And I know they're not used to it, and I know they're having a hard time getting rid of it probably.
I think Phyllis messaged me this morning and said they had like 9 inches or something.
Wow. You can have it. You can keep it. There's Dog's in the house, man.
Flat Rock.
Good deal.
Flat Rock's in the house. Flat Rock, future guest. Future guest. By the way, I'm sorry, Jeff. I just want to say your presentation over the weekend was absolutely awesome, Flat Rock. Really, really enjoyed it. Watched it a couple times, and I'll probably watch it again. And the eye shine that you showed is identical, color-wise, everything to what I've seen here. That is, even though our camera angle was on an angle, I was a little not straight on, but it brought the chilly bumps up on my arms real quick when I saw that eye shine. Oh boy, yeah.
No doubt about it. Perfect.
Yeah, I gotta
color,
watch
color
it.
yellow. Yep.
I'll be back. I gotta go check on Judy.
Okay. No problem. Just
Good
stay
Lord.
tuned, folks. We'll get going here in just a minute. And David's back. There we go.
My bad. It was actually on the way out my shop in my other bag. I was like, oh, where is that?
That's all good. But anyway, I tell you what, David, that's all good to go there. We've got the chat numbers are climbing and chat's getting busy. So we want to just tell us who you are, where you're from. And just give us your basic information about you, and then you can dive right into whatever you want to dive in about your cryptid encounters up there.
Awesome. I'm David Wildfong. I go by Skin Kwando. That's my, you could say, stage name, alias. Skin derived from, everybody always called me Skinny growing up, so that's kind of where the skin came from. I run a painting business, painting contractor, residential, commercial, Traverse City, Michigan.
Did that many years. Yep.
Yeah, so I've been doing, grew up in, I'm like the third generation contractor, so been doing construction my whole life.
Yep.
Grew up in the area of Traverse City, so was born here, raised here. Moved away to Grand Rapids for a few years, and when the housing market crashed, and came back here about 5-6 years ago, and been living in the same area where I grew up. So definitely really familiar with these woods and the area around here. If you guys aren't familiar with the area, it's pretty amazing. There's like not only a lot of woods and trails and like hiking and backpacking, like the what is that trail called? The Northwestern. Can't believe I can't remember it. It goes from, I think, New York all the way to South Dakota, but it comes up through Michigan. North Country Trail. Yeah.
Okay.
So the North Country Trail kind of goes right by here. And actually, a lot of the stories I got, I'm going to tell tonight, or a couple of them, I guess, are in that area where that trail kind of goes through too. So if you're in the chat or see this, familiar with that trail, yeah, it's like a lot of, if like depending on what state you're in, and maybe like northern New York or Wisconsin or something, like the woods might not be as deep as Colorado or something, where you can get lost for real, get lost, and really not find your way out. It's like there's definitely woods like that here, but there's still a lot of farmland and different stuff like that. But yeah, just growing up here, I've always been, as a child, in this area, just kind of was one of the kids who would leave in the morning and come back at night and just like wander the woods. Never really saw anything like that, anything when I was younger, or even, I guess, besides like books I seen at the library and stuff. I didn't really get into too much Sasquatch till, I guess you could call it like the podcast era, when like all the podcasts started coming out, and like Sasquatch Chronicles and different podcasts that came out, and I would just sit and listen to them. And then I started hearing a lot of Michigan stories, and kind of drew me into that. And that was probably about maybe 15 years ago or so. So I guess I've been super interested in squatching and stuff like that for about 15 years, and kind of paying attention anywhere I go. And I guess like just randomly bringing it up to people, like not really afraid to bring it up to somebody and talk about it. I know when I first started learning about it, it's definitely one of those things, like you're instant weirdo if you say you believe that it's real. Like literally people look at you funny. But just as well as like, I guess like aliens or UFOs and stuff like that, these days, like you can say that and people may believe you more, just because like government and stuff came out and kind of said that they're not really sure what it is, the UFOs or whatnot. So you might not sound as crazy saying that these days as you are. Still, it's like you say Sasquatch, you're instantly like, huh? Like, even like dating girls in my life, like you bring it up and it's like
20
I
years
guess
ago, Bigfoot got you looked at really funny, whereas today, surprisingly, with some of the people, I don't mean to jump in front of you there, but see, I'm in the truck and tractor pulling scene, and I have a lot of everybody here at pulls on the East Coast. They're all friends, we're all family, and pretty much. And I talked to some people that live in backwoods Virginia, West Virginia, and they don't deny anything anytime I bring up the B word, as they call it, the Bigfoot term. So that tells me, 20 years ago might have been a little different, but today, but I promise you, anything you talk about here tonight, nobody here is going to think lowly of you. I can promise you that. So this is the
oh yeah, I mean, I appreciate that.
Don't hold back, man. Don't hold back.
Oh, and David, what I wanted to tell you is Jerry and I literally live within like 5 miles of each other.
5 miles, yeah.
So we know a lot of the same people, and no one around here really says much. I mean, some people, they're so tight-lipped about stuff, it's nuts.
Which I can understand, because some
we
people
know people that have seen them, and we still can't get them. Still can't.
Yeah, and I guess that you could say it even falls in I think you guys were talking about it last week, like mountain lions and stuff. And I know quite a few people around here who've told me that they went in their backyard and seen, like these are people that wouldn't see something, like I don't even know, like a mountain lion is a bigger cat, like it's got a bigger, thicker tail, so it's a bigger, animal. Like it's not gonna look like a so.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one, but there's definitely a lot of footage of a black one around here. So,
in fact, last year,
you're kind of called crazy, like if you bring that up and say you believe that, to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I had a guy send me a picture of one that he took 20 yards off the road down there at Susquehanna State Park, Jerry. He was driving down the road and he just happened to look over. And there's a damn mountain lion.
Oh, yeah.
20 yards off the road. And he's like, the guy that showed it to me was a friend of his. And he's like, I know you know animals. What is that? And he's like, I already know what it is. Yeah. He's like, I just want your clarification.
But they're not
and
here.
I'm like, well, that's a cougar. Where was it? He's like, Susquehanna State Park. And I'm like,
no doubt about it. Right? Yeah.
I mean,
that place
literally, you could have thrown a rock and hit this thing. That's how close he was to it. There was no disputing what it was.
I'd start keeping an eye out for that. Because we set out pretty late over there.
I would rather even know if it's like, why can't they just say like possibility? There's a possibility.
Exactly.
Like, I think they would want people to know that, like kids are running around and stuff. Like, when I started looking and even like the missing 411 stuff, like I'm like holding my kids a little closer to me, like, hey, like, don't go too far, like.
Yeah. Well, that's just like here. There's confirmed wolf sightings right here on the coast, but it's Fish and Wildlife here. They deny it 100% and say no, they're not. They're in Eastern Oregon, and people are like, no, they're not. They're right here on the coast.
Yeah, like there's not many things that make a footprint, that big in the sand. Yeah, it's like
why do they have to hide that?
Coyotes. They said we didn't have coyotes. I was like, well, that's
those damn things are everywhere here.
They're
I hear them all the time now.
My neighbor just had to eradicate a whole den that was underneath his RV and got a little out of control. So yeah. I know here you can just it's all year round. So
Jeff and his dogs. Anyway, David, please.
All right.
Yeah, I kind of got rambled out and just like I was trying to getting trailed off into that, but I also not only do I paint, I also like DJ and I also rap, make beats. I just kind of grew up always like into music, like through my dad too, like working with him. He always had the radio out first, so always been into music and stuff, and DJ often around here. So you might see me if you're around like multiple areas. I've played the National Cherry Festival main stage a few times the last couple of years. last year, 2 years before that though, and Vans Warped Tour and stuff like that. So I've been around, I guess, doing that as like a side job, you could say. Love, but I'm also like a avid researcher. Always, rather than even watching sports or too much TV, I'm always researching something, like listening to a podcast, somebody talking about, everything from like crystal skulls to, ancient sites. And then just the more I looked into all of that stuff, kind of just brought me into all the stuff that's around here, in this area, like the mounds and stuff. And I guess researching, watching, I don't know if you guys ever watched that. He doesn't really do it. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even do it at all. He was like a Mormon guy over in Utah. I think he went by Nate something, Utah Nate or something. And he has some pretty good footage. And I'm not really sure what happened to that guy, but he he kind of was talking one day. He's like, because he had like, he would show like some of the crazy stuff and nobody really believed him because he just had so much evidence. He was just like showing it. Like he had some videos of like, I don't know, like if you've seen like enough, like I've never seen one, but I feel like I know what it's going to be like when I do, just by so many different videos you see. They move so quick. They might just go from a standing to a squatting, or maybe just standing to like laying on, on their belly within like way faster than anything probably. And he's got some videos we can see, the head's moving pretty fast. And it just like always interested me, like, oh, this guy like just seems like a normal guy, like again, like the Squatchers, like uh money the money dude from the TV show. Like I never really liked his vibe, I guess, like just how he's kind of always, he just kind of threw me off. Like I like, Kumbo and Bear, and like listening to a lot of different, guys like that, and like listening to you guys, and just anybody who's like a hunter or like is actually in the woods and like understands the woods. I'm not a hunter, but I'm like definitely grew up in the woods and camp and go camping alone a lot. And um, just this area, and just like doing the research I did in this area, and like listening to that guy Nate, and he just said like, if you want to find something, just look at, areas that so there's a trail that I frequent here called Old Indian Trail, and you can probably just even look it up. It's actually, if you look on the map, there's like the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Park is like a stretch of like woods that's along, like, say, this part of Michigan. And at the south side of that whole state park, there's a trail at the very bottom of it called Old Indian Trail. And it's about, it's a wise off. One way you can go like 2 miles to the dunes. And when I say dunes, have you guys ever been to the dunes, or like anywhere where they got like maybe sand, that kind of rolling hills that goes to like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like a lake or the ocean or something like that? It's kind
Mhm.
of like that for like miles,
I'm
depending on the
thinking
area.
Chesapeake, Jerry.
So
Yeah,
sometimes
Assateague,
there's like
Erie. I'm sorry. There's a question real
sometimes
quick. Gene Hudson, he's what part of Michigan? Because she's from or Gene's from the upper
oh, I'm
UP.
from Traverse City, Michigan. So northern lower Michigan, between Petoskey and Grand Rapids, on the western side,
So you're not
on the
far from
western
Harlan.
coast. So pretty much like the Pinky, I guess, if you look on the map, like the cradle of the Pinky. Actually, it's, if you guys are familiar with um Ancient Aliens, when David Hatcher Childress was like at the beginning of an episode, he says he's in Lake Michigan, and I'm sure you guys have heard of the Lake Michigan. What is that circular rock over in England? Headstone. What's that called?
Yeah, probably Headstone.
Something like that. Like
Yeah.
there's like a headstone of Lake Michigan, I guess, and it's got like a carving of a mastodon on it. And it's been kind of, passed around in the, ancient circles. And like the Ancient Aliens was here, and David Hatcher Childress was on a boat, and he was like, I'm here in Lake Michigan. And it is technically Lake Michigan, but it's actually a bay, Grand Traverse Bay. There's like East and West Bay, and that rock formation is actually I'm not gonna give away where it's at, but it's pretty much like over there. And that's like on that episode, he's pretty much when you're downtown Travers, you could see where he was at on that boat in that episode. So that's it's like I guess you could say like it's a tourist town here. Like it's like booming in the summertime, you know, and like I guess in the wintertime too with like snowmobiling and whatnot. But you know, people from like Detroit and downstate or whatever would come up here and, you know, vacation or whatever. So
Robbie Rain.
Is there a hey, Robbie Rains, how are you, buddy? Good to see you in here. As far as the overall lay of the land, I know, is it a pretty vast difference from the area you're familiar with and would you go into versus the UP?
oh, the UP is definitely different. It's like a little bit thicker. I actually not last summer. I meant to go last summer, but I didn't. The summer before that, I actually went on to Ontonagon area, like southern, like right below that, I think is the Porcupine Mountains, and I camped there. I think on Friday night, and on Saturday morning, I ended up hiking into the woods looking for this um, ancient mound site that I'd heard about and read about in this book. Again, I'm like researching for this book, so I'm like, there's a couple of things I'm kind of looking for in the area, and this mound, you know, from Google Maps, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, and I've camped in the UP a few times, so depending, and I like to camp like, you know, backcountry camping, like drive as deep as you can and just kind of go as deep in the woods as you can, and not, I don't like when there's people camping on left and right of me, and like I don't consider that necessarily camping. So I'll do that with my kids and stuff. Like they would much rather be by a toilet and stuff. Like my youngest daughter would probably, she used to go out to me in the woods, you know, and like she went backpacking with me actually one time. So, but she said she wouldn't do it again. But yeah, it's I guess I could see how it could get stressful. But I'm like, again, like I've always ran around in the woods, so it doesn't really stress me out or worry me. Like, and I usually try to have a couple things on me in case I gotta, you know, quote unquote survive or whatever, you know, which I had to do last summer actually, but I don't want to get trailed off. But this area is definitely I guess there's like swamp, there's like this, like I said, the sand dunes, the main national park around here is the Sleeping Bear. So it's like if you look on a map, it's like the shore, you know, Michigan's got a huge shoreline. So there's, you know, that a nice chunk of that western shoreline is the national park, you know, so you can't, you know, do certain stuff. It's like a national park. You can't just camp everywhere. Honestly, a cool thing about Michigan, you can camp and make a fire damn near anywhere in like a state park, and there's state parks everywhere, especially in the UP. UP is one of the is a really cool area for that. You can literally just pull off the side of the road just as long as it's like a state park, which is if you look on the map, it's like the state parks are everywhere. So you're a lot of the time you might just be pretty close to one, and there's like rough sites everywhere. But I was camping, like researching for stuff, and I was up in the UP around that area, and ended up going into the woods looking for this mound. And I'll tell you, that was probably the craziest thing I ever did. I was by myself too. I mean, I had a machete, and I didn't carry. I don't ever carry anything in the woods with me, any pistols or rifles or anything. So besides like a machete or some knives or maybe some bear spray.
Depends on where I'm at.
Yeah, you know, but I guess I'm just not, that's not me, and I'm not even saying I'm anti that. Like I just like that's, like I said, I'm not a hunter, but I shoot guns. Shot all sorts of guns. So I'm familiar, grew up around hunters and stuff. So just never did it. My dad actually didn't necessarily pass it on to me. Maybe that's why I didn't pick it up. Some of my uncles always did. He kind of, I guess, locked eyes with the bear when he was younger and kind of just quit that day. So I'm not really sure. I never really got too much into that story with him to figure out if it was more than that. And he passed away like 5 years ago, and I never really asked him that over to figure that out. But yeah, for real, like maybe. And he's always been like a conspiracy guy. He would actually stay up and always watch like ancient aliens and stuff. So, and like, you know, conspiracy stuff. So
New subscriber,
Maybe
real
that's
quick.
where I got it.
Boomers on two wheels. Thank you, brother. Good to have you. Good to see you. We're here every Tuesday, and sometimes beards and boogers. We're here on the weekends. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
This is-
I apologize
this
about
is
the
a serious
rambling. Like I
night.
said, I got a lot of stuff in my brain that I want to
you
get
just
to, and I just want to make sure I get to
yep,
it. So I sometimes trail off, and I try
that's
to,
okay.
circle back. So
Hey,
if I
there's a
trail
lot
off,
of
like
It's only
just hold
8:40
on for a
p.m. here.
minute.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah,
There's a
but
lot of us to do a part 2 show. There's a lot of people we need to have back on because
We got people that's got to come back on because
we can't cover everything in the time we're on. It's just I mean
and you really want to know why, David?
why?
Because Jeff falls asleep, so we got in. Just kidding.
But yeah. So I've camped up in the UP, but until this particular time, like I actually experienced some like those woods. Like I probably was on some private property, but like I said, I've just read about this. I don't really want to get into it too much because again, like some of the stuff I'm writing about really hasn't been published that much. So I want to make sure that I'm not like nobody beats me to some of this research I've been compiling up here. And yeah, it's a lot. You know what I mean? Like I kind of got inspired to write a book one day and I was like, okay. And I started taking notes and it's just like I keep finding more and more stuff. So it's like it's
Books
a lot.
are cool. Books are good. Hey, by all means, you don't have to give away your exact research areas. We suggest you don't. So
yeah, for sure.
You can give us a general idea, but
we don't really say like. I mean, Jerry and I don't really research. We go poke around, but we'd like to do more. But we don't talk about our spots either, unless
we have a peninsula. We'll tell you, we have a peninsula we're going to go check out. So.
We don't talk about it on the air. We talk to other people about it off. But I've got a place that
you give away spots, and especially this day and age, everybody wants to be a squatcher too. That's like we were saying, like it wasn't cool before, but now it almost like is becoming cool to like. I've never ran into somebody that I guess quote unquote would be squatching around here. I've seen stickers on cars and stuff. I guess I never knew that anybody was doing it till I saw that episode last week. I guess around here I've seen some other people that had experiences up here around this area. There's another guy, he had experience in Cadillac, which is like an hour south of here.
Did he see one?
But I was gonna say, I just want to finish like the UP and down here, the difference, like that hike. I mean, when I got back to my truck, I'll just like, long story short, like my jeans were tore up. I was missing like my adventure hat. I had to like use my GPS to get back because it like looking on the the Google Maps, which I do a lot to try to find like backcountry campsites, and like I'll mark it and be like, I'll go drive there and check that out, and found a lot of cool stuff that way too. But that particular trip in the UP last 2 summers ago, I really got to experience those deep, thick woods. Like there's some, and again, like if that was just a small chunk I was in, and that whole Upper Peninsula is just covered with that. So I can't imagine, some of the stuff that's up there. And I've camped up there many times. Actually, in the Keweenaw Peninsula, I've camped up there alone quite a few times. I don't want to give away the spot, but to just say like I'm off in the middle of nowhere on an island in a lake, and it's like the most desolate, beautiful thing, especially when you're alone. Sometimes there's other people that are on the island with you, but it's just super desolate. And I've never had an experience or seen anything specific. I guess maybe I didn't really look for it in the UP, but I've never had any experiences or even, I guess, talked to too many people who had experiences up there. I've heard a lot, like on the internet and stuff, a lot of experiences down here. The woods are, can be thick, but it's been clear cut. And so there's a lot of new growth for us. Like there's an area, I was talking about it last week on the chat, called Pigeon River, which is, I guess, it would be like up in the Grayling area. You like how I can just show, is this the right way? Yeah. So there's like the elk that's there, and that's like I've heard some stories in that area that it goes from like Grayling to I think Atlanta, Michigan.
That's right, Michigan robs.
But around here, what's that? Oh, Michigan Rob?
Michigan Rob.
Yeah, it's on your screen. I showed it up on, put it up on the screen there. He's
yeah, Michigan Rob, and he explains he's one of the ones who that's like one of the things that I noticed, and that's like again I've never seen one, but this is where I start to become a believer when you like listen to enough stories and you start to hear parables and like similarities and all these different stories. And he was one of the ones who said he could see the gray skin, and a lot of people say that they have gray skin. So I just remember that from his story that that was like he was at the Cadillac State Park where he was at and saw his sighting. I remember I've heard his story a few times. I think he was with his girlfriend in a boat or something, and she like freaked out. And
yes.
I think something bad happened to her too. I don't really want to just like ramble and guess, but I don't think she like came out of that very good.
That's not
you guys keep going. I'm taking these rascals outside for a minute.
But I guess I get to some action. So, before I saw that Nate video, the Nate guy, and like he said, just pay attention around the areas you were in. I think one of the first real experiences I had around here, I was with an ex-girlfriend of mine about 4 years ago in the Sleeping Bear National Park area. I'm gonna give this one away because it's honestly just like a pretty famous spot. It's called Esh Road Beach, and a lot of people go there. Like the whole coastline, you go there in the summer and you can pretty much make a fire on the beach and just hang out all night if you want to. You're not supposed to camp there technically, especially on the national park shore. If you're tribal, you can. A friend of mine, we've camped on the shore or like just off of the shore because we're allowed to do that, but for ceremony and whatnot. But that particular area, we were there just watching, the northern lights will come out depending on the night, or just even if they're not coming out once the sun sets. Not only will you have an incredible, picturesque sunset, like the stars. This is one of the darkest areas in the world for stargazing. In this area of I can't remember if it's like the Ash Road Beach area, but I know for sure there's a dark sky park a couple hours north of here. But just this whole coastline right here, there's like some areas where you can see like the stars like incredibly. So we were just there, at a fire. We were up on this hill, and she, I would talk to her about squatches, and I think like, you know how it is. Like I'm sure you guys know how it is. Like you some people just don't want to hear it any more of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You already kind of talked your talk, and like that's all you get. And you bring it up just like, oh, here we go again.
True story.
It, yeah. So it was kind of one of those things, but I would still bring it up. You know what I mean? Because especially if it's like in the area where I live, like and she was originally from South Dakota. She's Lakota, and she moved here, and that's like a year before I started seeing her or something. And we were on the beach, and I went and took a bathroom break, and all of a sudden it was an Ohio howl, and she was the one who said, "Do you hear that?" I was kind of just probably zoning out, whatever. I don't even, maybe like, oh, looking off in the distance, kind of just in my head. And she was like, "Do you hear that?" And I kind of had to shift to that because there's like, like I said, there's like people up and down the beach. And I would say that maybe the closest people in each direction were maybe, 50 yards each way. And there was like, every so often there would be more people. So you'd hear different people, and the vocal tone of those people's voices were so minuscule to this like scream that's coming out of the woods. because again, like you're on this like dune. There's the beach, and then there's a dune, and then the woods start and kind of just run along, and that's actually when I talk about one of these trails is actually further down that same woods. I've seen a lot of interesting stuff and that set of woods that I'll get to some stories there. But this particular area, I was, using the bathroom, and she said, "Do you hear that?" And it was a legitimate Ohio howl, loud and long, carrying. It almost like shocked me for a second, where I was like, like it looked like what, like because it stopped and then it did it again, almost like that. I think the Ohio does that. It like kind of goes oh like a siren and then kind of stops and then builds back up again. It kind of did that. So by the time it did the second time, I was locked in on it fully, kind of paying attention to the people, that you could hear within, whatever 50 to 100 yards from me. Their vocal, was like drowned it out through this thing that was probably, I don't even know how far away it was, half a mile. It couldn't have been that close, but I couldn't necessarily feel it in my chest or anything like that. But I guess you could say, feel it from how loud it was.
Wow,
It was
awesome.
I mean, and I remember that drive home too. We ended up, after that, like again, she was still not into it like that. So she wasn't like convinced or nothing in that moment. But I'm over here like all excited, like yeah, that was an Ohio howl. Like I know what that was, like all excited. And when we got back in the car, the whole ride home, I had my phone hooked up in her car and listened into the Ohio howl. I'm like, this is what it was, right? This is what you heard, like, and yeah. So that's when I was like locked in and was like, oh wow, this is like for real around here. Because I think by that point I was already looked into the BFRO website and seen it's broken down into counties. I'm in Grand Traverse County, and it's like there's Leelanau County, Antrim County, Kalkaska County around. And I'm looking at stories from each one of these areas, lots of them in like Benzie and the national. But there was some guys that were fishing in Lake Michigan, and the way that they described the area that they described in that story sounds exactly like Ash Road to me. Because if you like look on the map and see like the river comes in and there's like a forest right there, and like in that story, these guys were fishing pretty close to the shoreline, and they just started seeing one of the trees start swaying pretty hard, and then a log came flying out of the woods into the lake. And I think that was about the experience for them. But I remember reading that on the BFRO. I was like, what? And then there's like other stories of people being in their cabin and like rocks getting thrown at it and different stuff like that, around here. And I didn't really at that point talk to anybody locally who had seen anything around here. But I kind of started getting. I know, yeah. Right, Brian?
Yeah,
you
really guys are basically neighbors.
I'm always like in the woods, like too. Like maybe I was gonna go today. It was like 1 degree today, and I was still gonna go because like I feel like every time you're in the woods for each
you and Barbara should go out together.
I mean, I like to like if you come in the woods with me, you got to be ready to just go off trail and follow animal trails. That's what I like to do, and just like get lost. Really, not necessarily too lost like that. A lot, but if I'm like have a base camp and I'm just like hanging out in the area for the day, I'm definitely doing that. Like not even just for squatch and stuff, just you can find cool stuff, antler drops or whatever. You gotta like different views, and you might find an old bottle from like the 1800s or something, like you never know what you come across just wandering off. But yeah, that same. So I'll tell you a couple stories from this other trail. Like I said, that's like further down the road from where I was at. After I watched the Nate guy on YouTube, and he was said, pay attention to the woods you're in. And at this point, when I was on this trail and started paying attention, I already had been hiking that same trail often. Through all 4 seasons, rain or shine, depending on the day, you know, like, because again, like I like going out in the different times, not necessarily, it doesn't always got to be nice and warm, because like, you know, you go out in the rain, you just see different stuff for different times, you know. If it's like snowing and, you know, you might not see much if it's like blizzarding, but if it's like there's a lot of fresh snow, you're going to see footprints everywhere of animals you might not necessarily see, like, you know, bobcat footprints all over the place. And I'm not sure if I've seen any bigger cat footprints, but I've seen some pretty big cat footprints. But on that trail, I started paying attention, just kind of just looking at the trees and trying to see what, because I hear about tree breaks and X's and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, like some of the stuff, I'm like, that's just deadfall. Like, I don't, you know, like, I think somebody mentioned it last week too, the Colorado guy. Somebody in the chat might have brought up that Colorado guy. I can't remember his name, but on YouTube, he's always like way up in the mountains. He's got some like crazy, like log patterns that are like, you know, crisscross like this for like the deer to get trapped in or something. Like, that's
and
like
he's
pretty,
a talker. Lord, that
that's
man
like,
talks.
Was that Colorado Bigfoot?
Colorado
yeah.
Bigfoot.
But you know, like I watch it, and again, like for me, I'm the type of person, because I'm a researcher. Like, show me the evidence. Like, whatever you got to say about it is whatever. Like, just show me the evidence, and that's like the type of person I am. So, like, that's when I started looking around here, and literally the first, like, so I've been in this woods many times, and like right after this guy started saying this, and I'm sure maybe not like this was the first time I started looking, but this was the first time I started noticing something. Was one time we were on this trail, and first thing I see is a big old X, and where it's at, and by this time I already am kind of got information in my brain that the X's could possibly mean like don't go, don't cross, whether it's for them or for us, whatever that means. It was there, and it was pretty blatant, and I had to go look at it, and it didn't look like deadfall to me. And I have pictures of it. I didn't really bring anything today. Maybe I can come back, and I do have like a bunch of pictures of some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. And I just started paying attention just on this like regular trail that again, like I'd walk many times, and you can tell when there's a human that does something. Like, say, like if you're frequenting a trail, and especially if there's kids on it, you might see like arrows, your stick drag marks, you know, from a kid that's running, or a dog, like, you know, picking up a stick and like maybe dragging it across the dirt. You got, you know, there's like all that stuff on these like, you know, high hiked trails. But this particular summer, and again, like this, like I frequent this trail often. It was actually closed last summer, so I didn't get to see last summer. But this particular year, there was like literal tree breaks like down this whole like 2 mile stretch of this trail. And I'm 6'7", so I'm pretty high off the ground as it is. And these tree breaks were like, I could reach up to them, and they were like, you know, trees I would say about yay big around, and they were just like snapped and just like there next to the trail. And I like can't help but be like, that's not deadfall. Like, you can't, you know, you can see if like the tree falls, and like, you know, you got, I'm sure you guys all have heard it, or anybody that's watching this doing some set, you know, you know what deadfall is. It looks, or like the damage deadfall will do to a tree. And this was definitely like a fresh break, and there was a few of those trees like that down this whole trail. And again, I was with the same girl that heard the Ohio Howl, and I was kind of talking about it then, and she still wasn't like, she's like, you know, like it's interesting, but yeah. And again, like I seen another X that was like in the woods, and they both the X's were facing the same way, and they were on the edge of the trail where some private property starts, like not too, again, this is the, you know, the south side area of this big wood system. So, and so there's private property that starts right there, and maybe that's what the X was marking. And I never really saw, actually no, I did hear one time walking through there, and there's a bird that makes like this sort of noise. I don't know if you guys heard it. It kind of goes like, it like sounds like I've heard it one time, but I'm not sure it was like what I heard this particular time sounded like almost like a chest stomp or something. Like it echoed through the woods pretty loud. And I'm not really sure. You could say it was, a possibility that that's what it was. There's a lot of people that talk about hearing that, whether it's like I've heard people say that they do that with their mouth, and it sounds like they're hitting their chest. But again, like I guess no one really knows, like unless you got video footage of them doing it or seen them do it. But it sounded like a chest beat that one time when I was walking on the trail, and I heard that. But I started seeing those X's at a couple different spots, and sometimes they were old. But that particular spot, I will say, I would circle back to that spot. Like I said, I would go there throughout all 4 seasons, and it seemed that those tree breaks and those X's were only there. The one X is still there, and the tree breaks have been like taken down by like DNR or whatnot. But they haven't been back. So that almost like in my brain, like just doing some research about it, that they don't necessarily stay in the same area. Maybe in different parts of the country they might. I've heard, depending where it's at, maybe in Canada or something, they might stay in a certain area, or maybe here they even stay in a certain area. But this particular area, I didn't, again, going back to it over the next like year and a half, I didn't see any more tree breaks like that particular summer / fall.
That's a good question right there.
Yeah,
David,
Brian,
did it sound like two catcher's mitts hitting together?
Yeah, it kind of did. Honestly, it's hard to explain. It was like when somebody had said before that it's a possibility that they do it with their, like maybe even somebody had saw one do it like that. I can't really remember where I got that from, where
Yeah.
it's either they're doing it with their teeth or their cheeks or something. And so it sounded like it could be, it was weird. Like I've heard a fox scream at night. I've heard owls at night. They sound like pretty demonic. I've heard cats scream at night. So like when you hear something at night, like during the day, and you know what I mean, like when it's daytime and you hear something like that, I guess a lot of those the animal sounds you might hear are nocturnal, so you might not hear them during the day. But yeah, like nighttime, it's a whole different vibe. Like that particular woods sitting that I was talking about, where I saw those tree breaks. Like I said, it's like depending on which way you go, it's either a mile or 2 mile till you get to tongue pops. Totally could have been a tongue pop or a chest pound. It sounded like that. But again, like this forest system I'm talking about, like the more I do my research, like there's definitely mad missing people stories, and not necessarily like a lot, but a handful. And in that exact wood system that I'm talking about, and it's like a nice stretch. Like I don't know how particular, like how many miles long it is, but it's a big national park stretch along the shoreline.
David, I just thought about something when you were talking about the and something just clicked, something just came across my mind when you were talking about the DNR guys, destroying tree breaks and stuff. When a friend of mine that used to work for, it was the Park Service. We've been best friends for years. We used to camp together a lot. We still do occasionally sometimes. And, you guys ever heard of the NART, which is they call nature art? Supposedly the hippies stack all these rocks and shit together. Mm-hmm. Well, they tell all the park employees to destroy it, scatter it all around. Or if they see anything like that. Now, how do you know it was a bunch of hippies stacking all these rocks together and it wasn't something else?
Yeah, like that's something I've heard too. Like especially during research, like that Nate guy.
Think about that till just now.
That Nate guy I was talking about, he had some videos where he would go way up in the mountains in Utah, and that was one of the things he would like start doing, and they would like leave little rock stacks like that. And I've seen that before in other places. But I'm trying to so I'd say while I'm staying in that one area, there's another my friend, she's actually the pipe carrier for the tribe here. Close friend of mine. Um, I was asking her about anything she knew about it, and she said she was coming out of, I want to say it was that particular woods, and she was going to the parking lot, walking to her car, and walking along the edge of the woods, and just like heard this like super loud scream that she could like feel in her chest. And that's like was her response to me asking her if she knew anything about that. And she's like, yeah, maybe that was it. And I'm like, yeah, that was probably most definitely it. Like, not too many things are gonna, scream like that, where you can feel it in your chest. I mean, I've heard all sorts of animals, like I said, and like you don't feel it in your body. I mean, you'll feel it out of fear, but you don't necessarily physically feel it if you're scared, I guess. But I mean, if you ever heard something like a fox or owl at night, or say a squatch scream, um, you're probably going to be pretty fucking scared. Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I usually
It
try,
happens.
honestly, I'm not a big swear, but if I say it, it's like to accentuate what I'm trying to say. Like, so
Okay.
It's all good, man.
You're good.
But yeah, so I frequent this other spot too. It's like he talked about it last week, the Manistee River, and the Manistee River does stretch across all of Michigan. And I'll say back to the native stuff, like the river system in not even just in Michigan, because the Mississippi River is part of this, and this like the mound that I was talking about going to visit. There's I don't know if you guys are familiar with the mounds around like. The river system for thousands of years was used like a highway in this area from the tribes around here and other tribes. Like there was trade going around, and there was different groups coming through the St. Lawrence Seaway as far back as 6,000 years ago. To the Phoenicians came to Isle Royale up almost to Canada and the Lake Superior. There's copper mines that are been dated back to then, and there's like I won't even get into that whole thing. That's like a whole nother topic that'll open up a can of worms, that type of research. But I mean, the tribes around here there's like a lot of stuff that isn't known unless you know, because it's almost like you're told like there really wasn't much going on besides maybe some like nomadic type people. There wasn't really, if you don't know, like school is not necessarily going to teach you, depending on the school I guess you go to or the teacher you have, but for the most part you're not really going to know. And but all those that river system, like even the Manistee River used to be bigger. They were talking about it last week. They used to be bigger, and a lot of these river systems used to be bigger, and they would all tie in together, so you could travel around all this area pretty easily. And I've been trying to tap back into that that type of when I walk the land and stuff. And it's like the land starts to open up to you differently if you like respect it and like enter it in a different mindset. And I think I've never seen a squatch, but I'd like to say I heard a lot of people talk about this, like when you're in like a calmer state of mind or like more open to it, and like loving, like with a loving heart, not like all angry or frustrated or whatever that looks like. And that's like how I try to always, when I'm always camping and stuff, I try to be there. And like I've had a lot of really cool experiences, I think, because of that too. So but I'll just I'll trail off too and say like sub story, like the tribes around here have always believed in squatches. You can see these are the 7 grandfather teaching. You can see squatches right in there with all the animals.
Yeah.
So and these are the teachings. I don't know, is this backwards? So I'll just read this. Like, the bear is for bravery, eagles for love, beavers for wisdom, buffaloes for respect, turtles for truth, Sabe, which is Sasquatch, is for honesty, and wolf is for humility. I'm not sure if
No,
is
it
that
shows
backwards.
proper. No, it shows good.
Yeah.
It shows right. Just see the front again real quick. Now I got you up zoomed in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
Now, which tribe is that from?
The Ojibwe.
Okay.
So like the tribes around here have kind of been broken up into the bands, because like when it comes to like tribal, like I don't even really want to get into the politics because it is kind of like it's like damaging. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
treaties that have been broken, like a lot of land that's been taken, and like literally around here, like all the rich neighborhoods and stuff, those were like sacred lands. A lot of stuff, even the courthouse here in Traverse City downtown. Brian, if you go downtown and see like the courthouse is sitting on a sacred mound, and like that's what always happened. Like like a church would build right on the mound and kind of just take over, through that. And you weren't even allowed to, practice or do certain ceremonies, and like your kids were forced to go to these like boarding schools, and like the language was kind of beat out of them. Their hair was forced cut, and like you would go to jail if your kids didn't go to these schools. And the last school was closed in the 80s around here. So when people talk about, that's like, no, that's like even recently, like a lot of tribes are just in the last, like 50 years able to do a lot of things even to the recent. And so when you talk about the tribes around here, it used to be one people, the Potawatomi, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that particular one, or I want to say the right pronunciation, but that's like the way it's spelled is Potawatomi.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like in the southern, and then there's like the Ojibwe and the Ottawa, and the Chippewa. A lot of that stuff is like the same thing, and it was everybody was kind of broken up into these bands. The Grand Traverse Band, the Little River Band, the Sault Ste. Marie Band, and that's the band that I'm part of, that I just found out the last couple years, doing the research on this book I'm doing. I kind of just was led to figuring out my heritage officially. Because growing up, I thought it was something else. Even Wildfong is not even, that's a German name, and we're not German. It's actually, those are two brothers. Somebody, a Wildfong, reached out to me on Facebook and like kind of gave me the breakdown of of my name. And well, my grandpa was adopted, so that's not even really my heritage, that name. So, and I always thought it was native because, growing up, that's we always knew we were native. I always thought, like, saw Wildfong and just like figured that's what it was, but I didn't know. We weren't raised in ceremony and stuff like that. Like I said, a lot of unless you were part of certain circles, like growing up, it wasn't really talked about a lot. Like growing up, I went to a private school till the 7th grade, and even then, like, I had a lot of native kids in my class, and I remember my friend's dad came in full regalia and in kindergarten, and I was always like, super interested into it, not really knowing mine. I was always told we were Sioux tribe, and I always thought it was Lakota. Come to find out, it's Sault Ste. Marie. Like I said, my friend's, who's a well-respected tribal member for the Grand Traverse Band, his mom helped trace my lineage back, and it kind of all ties into, like I said, the research that I'm doing for this book I'm writing with like all these different groups that came down the St. Lawrence Seaway, including, the Vikings and stuff. They came here.
Yeah. And you said
quite a
they're
few
fur
times.
trappers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I got Norwegian in me too, and I'm sure
Good.
I would like to
Man,
believe that it's like,
you got everything.
yeah, so
up
that's
there,
like,
yeah, you're gonna have Norwegian up there. Yeah.
yeah, and it's kind of cool to be able to see that, like, and I don't even like to look at blood quantum, because I feel like if you're tapped in, you're tapped in. If it's like speaking to you, it's speaking to you, it's in you. It doesn't, it's like, and I'll tell you, there's like, I won't even get to it unless, like, I guess you want me to. Like, I started having,
Go
like,
ahead.
when I'm doing research into this book and stuff, I started praying a lot, and And some of the stuff I'm actually never even told in public, because I like to keep a lot of this stuff, like I guess, to myself. But I'll share it here because it's kind of interesting, and I guess it makes to like me like being in the woods and talking about how I like to enter them with like a clear mind and stuff. Um, so like this area that I frequent a lot, I started frequenting, having experiences there with eagles. And some people could say it's coincidental, but I ended up finding an eagle that passed, and it was just like fresh. And that day was like super. And I don't even won't even get into the whole day because there's like a lot of magical stuff that happened. I'm gonna definitely like write it all out in the book that I'm writing. But I ended up finding this like giant snapping turtle shell right under this eagle's nest, and then ended up finding the eagle like, a half mile away from that particular day. And it was like raining out, and it was like this tree fell like right by the eagle's nest. It was like a really it wasn't even windy that day, so the fact that that tree fell was like, and it's still like it's this huge tree that's like fell down this like cliff into the water, that it wasn't just a small tree, it was a pretty big tree. And that was all within like a half hour of me just like kind of walking the same trail. That some of these experiences I'm going to tell you happen within the same woods. It's on the Manistee River. And so just like learning about, like I said, I was dating this like Lakota woman who, I won't even get into her, but she ended up finding out about her lineage. She didn't really know much about it, but then she ended up, while I was with her, finding out about her bloodline is like pretty ancient within her tribe, and is like very sacred, and like they're like like highly respected within the medicine world and stuff. So I was like learning a lot from her in that route. Like before all this stuff happened to me, we kind of went our own ways, and she moved to like South Dakota, and I kind of was like inspired to kind of, at that point I still thought I was Sioux Lakota because that's what we were always told. And then, doing the research for this book, I ended up discovering like within the same time period from my friend's mom, by giving her like some names and dates of my family members. And she traced back, like I said, like the French fur trade. There was I want to say five French fur traders that kind of married into tribes, like the Huron tribe up in Canada. And the most recent would be the Sioux tribe, the Sault Ste. Marie tribe in the UP. But again, like I'm just like now new to this. So even all this, when you say about tribes, like, yeah, you'll see there's Sault Ste. Marie band, a Grand Traverse band, Little River. I don't want to miss out on too many, but there's like a couple more. But we all used to meet together in Petoskey area at the Petoskey State Park, where that is now. That's where everybody used to gather back in the day. And then you'd spend your summers there. And there used to be a crooked tree there that was like a very sacred spot that, when you're coming in on Lake Michigan, you could see the tree if you were like, coming in from a different area, whether it's from the Mississippi down, to meet with the whoever you're meeting there, that would be your like one of the sacred spots. And I'm pretty sure like somebody built a house there and just cut the tree down. Like, it's unfortunate. There's like a lot of stuff like that happens around here. So like I was saying, like some of this stuff, even talking about Sabe, because that's again like that's what they call Sasquatch within the stories. And in this book, I was trying to find this book right here. It's
Okay.
But this book talks about they don't say Sabe, but they describe a spirit in the woods that'll whistle and like throw stuff. So but Sabe, I was trying to do my own research. So again, some of this stuff is new to me. So I'm like asking around and like going to ceremony and stuff, and like some of the stuff, and a lot of the stuff I'm asking is more to the research I'm doing for the book, but I still will bring up like Sasquatch and like what are some of the stories for that. So I guess I don't really know too much about like what Sasquatch means besides like a protector of the forest. But you'll hear that from a lot of tribes around the country. Like that's what they are. They're just like a protector of the forest, and like you got to respect them if you see them. Kind of just like walk away, leave a stone. I have heard that from a couple people. Like just like don't bother them. You know, carry cedar with you, and they'll know that you're coming in peace if you have like some cedar with you. Um, So sometimes when I'm walking through the woods, I try to do that too, have some like cedar kind of just poking out of my bag or something. Um, but one time I'm kind of just rambling on, and I just wanted to fill in on some of the stuff about the Sabe and the stories from around here that I've been around here for, thousands of years in this area. Um, So the fact that it's like, whether you believe it or not, like it was already a thing before any of us got here. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, if you believe it, like, and I've heard other places talk, other podcasts talk about it. Like a lot of tribes will tell you, like, don't go over there. Like, they might not say the particular words about whatever they call it. They would just say, don't go over there. And then you look on the map and what the whoever went there and named the place something, it was always like Devil's Lake or Devil's Edge or something like that, because they saw something there that scared them and turned it to that. And you'll see that all over the country. I don't really see that anywhere around here. I've been looking on maps to see if I could see anything like that, the Devil's Creek or something like that, but I haven't really seen anything like that on our maps around here, that would give away like a spot that might be known for something like that. I guess a lot of the stories here are just kind of just random. You'd be surprised how many stories are in like Detroit and stuff. Like I've never been down there and seen them, but it's like a lot of them are down there too, which is super interesting. Well, I guess it's like next to Ohio and stuff, and there's a lot of stories down there. But up here, it's like you're driving at least a couple hours to get to where I live from the last biggest city, which would be Grand Rapids. And so we're 2 hours north of that. And the place that I go to the Manistee is an hour south of here, so it's about in between. And that area where I found, actually, I was just there before this last snowfall came at that same spot, and I found this, and those are eagle beak marks. So this is a meal, probably one of the.
Not a whole lot that can go through a turtle shell.
Yeah, right. Especially that clean. It's like a little, perfect little. But that same wood system, I was camping there. It's a pretty popular spot in the summer, so it's like first come, first served to a lot of the campsites around there. And there's a campsite that I like to go to first, and it takes a minute. You got to go, down this 2-track. Takes about a good 20 minutes once you get on the dirt road to get to some of the campsites, because you got to take dirt roads. And this particular night, I got there. I don't remember what one night it was, but it probably was more towards the weekend, Thursday through Saturday or something. And I was kind of just coming in the afternoon, and all the campsites were gone. Even some of the ones that are off to the side that aren't really marked. There's actually no camping at a couple of the spots that I used to just kind of go off and just kind of rough camp, whatever, in the woods. But I found this spot where I had to kind of carry my stuff into the woods. So where I parked, I probably had to walk a good half-mile into the woods. And I was on this spot though, like right on the river. And it was technically, you're not supposed to be that close to the river, but it was like a awesome spot.
Yeah. We're not supposed to do that in some of the places I've camped on the creeks in here.
Yeah. It's like you're supposed to be like 30 feet away or something. There. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you be? If there's like an open spot and you're like right there, like I'm gonna be right there. And I like
well,
to
it's
have
not
this,
our fault. Somebody had already put the fire pit right next to the creek.
So. I saw a fire pit. I'm here because there's a fire pit.
Like, hey, it makes it easier to hook up your water filtration system. So, you know, I'm not gonna complain if it's already there, but like, hey, I found this. I'm just using it.
Yeah, exactly. And this particular spot, it was honestly kind of creepy. So by the time I had, walked in and set up my camp, and made myself some food. I love cooking over a fire. It's like my favorite. I would cook all 3
Mhm.
meals over a fire and just,
Heck
I
yeah.
love it. And just,
I love doing that.
yeah, like I'll always have a skillet with me and, um, French toast, everything. I've cooked my kids like some of their favorite meals I've
Yeah.
ever made was over a fire. Um, so that's like, a big kick for me to go camping is just like you get to cook over the fire. So I'll make sure I bring all that. So I was cooking and had my camp set up and the sun was setting. It was starting to get dark. And where I was at, must be some hunting camp that was right there because there was a bunch of old bricks that they must have brought in from like an old
Yeah.
chimney or something, and they had kind of remade the chimney and
How
had like a
far
little
off the road
area.
were you? Were you right up on the road?
I would say there's like a main road and then there's a dirt road that goes both ways off of it. And
Yeah.
again, I was kind of close by um the Manistee River, or that is the Manistee River I'm on. So the main road, you can't even hear cars where I was at. So besides if they came down the dirt road, but that dirt road isn't necessarily driven on all that much. Um,
That's how I like to camp, Levon.
yeah, and drive in until you can't drive anymore. Exactly.
What my
And
buddies and I like to do is get in there, like take pack frames and just load up with everything we're going to need for 3 or 4 days. And we try to get 2 or 3 miles in off trail.
yeah,
And I'll
exactly.
be
Like I
doing
just
that again here in that spot where I found the track, Jerry. In April,
that's
I'll be up in there again.
that's my favorite. I just got into that, growing up around here. A lot of my friends did backpacking stuff like my
Mhm.
whole life, and I never really got into it. I guess I don't. Maybe because it was so expensive. I'm not really sure why.
Oh,
But
it
over
gets
the last few
pricey once
years,
you start throwing all that stuff together. Good Lord.
oh, I know. Yeah, I got like the Jet Boil. I don't think it's that
Uh
brand, but
huh.
one of those
Yeah.
things. I got the. Actually, I got this for Christmas for my daughter. It's got the life straw and the water
Uh huh.
bottle.
I have one of
So,
those.
yeah. So, uh, yeah, all that stuff. The little saw that you can fold out and stuff, like all that stuff. I like having all that stuff with me always, just because. Like I'll have a bag and usually have a little bit of that in
Yeah.
there. Because I,
Now, do you use the
especially,
freeze dried food?
um, yeah, but I think I'm gonna try this time around is just like dehydrate. I saw
Yeah,
Survivor
that's
Man
what
do
we
that stuff.
use.
He said
Oh,
he was like dehydrating like spaghetti and stuff, and like literally just like laying it on the dehydrator and just
yeah.
peeling it off after it
William, he's in
dehydrates.
Michigan.
Traverse City, Michigan.
Yeah.
But the spot I'm talking about is the Manistee River. I guess kind of by I don't even know it would be close to that. Where that's even at.
David, if I could make a
Benzie.
recommendation for you as far as the stuff for the jet boil, I've used Mountain House and some other stuff, but the Peak refuels, no, I really like those. Do you use any of that
Oh,
stuff,
are you
Dave?
talking about the dehydrated?
Yeah.
What are you talking about there? Yeah. Have I used what?
You ever use Peak refuel?
I'm not
That's
really
the
sure. I don't think so.
there.
I'm like I said, I'm new to it, and a lot of the time I'll just bring stuff to. I've never really gone more than 2 days. I've always I've camped like that, but I've and just kind of just
Yeah.
hiked for miles and then came back to the site or whatever. But to backpack specifically,
Yeah.
I'm just like only done that a few times. But I
Well,
got all the stuff, and
it's great.
I'm definitely I'm definitely gonna do that a lot this year. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of cool spots that you can kind of just like get lost in.
Blaylock, what do
Um,
you use?
We use a lot of the Mountain House.
We use that, and I've gotten more into the Peak refuels here in the last
Mhm.
couple years.
What's
They pack more calories.
yeah.
Mountain House doesn't really have as much good stuff in it as as the Peak does.
Yeah. We don't backpack as much now, me and Dee Dee. Back in Northern California, we would hike in 10 miles up into a wilderness, and we would stay up there sometimes 10, 10 days.
Yeah, see, that's so awesome. I've always wanted to do that. Like that's
Yeah,
where
we
the
loved it, man.
Sierra sounds came from.
You
That's
should
like
do it.
they
You'll
used to
love
like
it.
hike up for like 5 days. I have a friend of mine who I met at a funeral in South Dakota. He's actually got one leg too. It's crazy that some of the stuff he does. Like he does some crazy backpacking up there, and he invited me out there a couple of times, and I need to get out there and do that for sure. I think
The
I
nice
want to
thing
do
is
South
they don't
Dakota
weigh
too.
much. If you want to throw them in your pack, they don't weigh a whole lot. So that's another thing. When you're going in that far, you don't want a whole lot of weight, but it's as long as you got somewhere you can get water, you're gonna have some good meals.
Yeah, I mean around, especially in Michigan, I mean, there's water everywhere, so
Catch
it's
you a
almost like
fish,
you're
man.
gonna run. Yeah, that too. Yeah, I want to get one of the small rods that you can just kind of break up and stuff in your bag.
Collapsibles.
Yeah.
Well, we've packed the full size rods in, but we usually carry ultralights.
Yeah, I need to get. I spent the money and got a super ultralight tent. Like I said, I'm 6'7", so I had to get the 3-person one just to make sure I could fit in it.
Nice.
I'm just
David, I'm 5'6". I'm the shortest here. As DA would say, I'm a tactical midget.
A tactical midget.
Yeah. So that spot I was hiking in that day, I backpacked, you could say, all my stuff in, but my car was there. But I had all the stuff. Like I'll bring, even if I'm car camping, I'll still have all my stuff with me, and I carried it all in. And that particular night, that was probably this particular night was probably, I guess, the scariest, you could say. It didn't really scare me to keep me up all night, but any of the other incidences I had, I guess, doesn't. I've learned, I guess, to not be afraid of the woods. I don't know if you guys are like afraid when it gets dark. Like it took me a couple of times camping alone, I guess, to break that fear. I don't know if you guys ever camped alone or not, but it's like it's a different world when you're alone.
David, I sleep in a hammock.
Yeah.
So I've kind of become accustomed to the.
Yeah. And if you're just comfortable in the woods, again, like a lot of people aren't necessarily like that. Like I'll go wander off with no I don't even like having a flashlight because it ruins your eyes and stuff. So I'll try to walk around as much as I can without the flashlight for as long as I can. And but this particular night I was, sleeping, and I got woken up in the middle of the night to a repetitive knock on a tree very close to me. And I guess the only other thing you could say it would be maybe a buck, but I feel like I've heard ruts before, and it doesn't sound the same as that. Even if they're going maybe like this, and like their antlers are tapping the tree, it's not gonna make as loud as a noise as this was. And it was like a steady. I think there was about 8 knocks, and that was about it. And then there was really nothing anymore after that. And it woke me up out of my sleep to that noise. So I'm like half asleep, trying to pay attention to what's happening. And it's this like knock on this tree very close by. I couldn't really feel it or anything like that, but it was like loud enough that it shook me like to the core for sure. And I was like laying in my tent for a minute, like waiting for something to happen. Because I don't know if you guys, if this happens to you guys or anybody else, but like if I'm laying there thinking about that kind of thing, like sometimes I'm camping by myself and I'm listening to a Squatch podcast or something, and I'm like kind of getting freaked out sometimes. Like if I hear something, I'm like looking around, like you know what I mean, doing these things, like double checking around you, like what was that, or like looking off in the you're seeing shadows move and stuff, and try not to get that way though, you know what I mean, like, but I can't help it sometimes. But that particular night I wasn't necessarily like that. I guess maybe because that sense of fear wasn't put out or something. I'm not really sure, but I did wake up and kind of walk around and didn't really see any disturbance or any footprints. But it's like in the woods, it's like hard to. I guess I'm not really sure what to look for in that, especially like some of the way the woods. The wood floor, the forest floor isn't a flat, smooth surface. It's everywhere, and there's like trees and decades of tree fall, and like life just building on top of each other. Like, I don't even reach down there and grab some of that and peel it back. It's like some of the most beautiful dirt you can see under there. Like, cause it's like so, so much life going into it. I'm trying to think if I've seen anything else over in that area particularly. Oh, I want to say back to the first trail I was on, I was listening to a podcast and it was Sasquatch Chronicles, and this guy was talking. He wasn't even in Michigan, but at the end of the whole, hour or whatever discussion, at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, I do have one more sighting I had." He was like, "Me and my buddy went on a vacation up to Traverse City, Michigan, and we were at Sleeping Bear Dunes." And I'm like, "What?" Like at work, I kind of sit down and I'm listening to him, and he's explaining him and his buddy were walking down this trail, and I swear it's like the trail that I frequent, because like there's only 2 trails along this system of this whole area that it could be. He said he was like walking on the trail and there was like a water system, like a little mini pond right there, and he saw uh it looked like a tree stump to him, and he was taking on a bathroom break. He's stepping off the trail a little bit, and then the tree stump stood up and just walked into the woods. And I'm like, I know where that's at. Like that's honestly, that I'm pretty sure that's the same area where I saw those tree breaks is where that happened. And that's, I was like, I know where that's at.
Wow.
Um,
Art had a question for you, David. What do you think about the Dogman thing?
I got to tell you, that's another thing. So doing the research or whatever, like, cause what I heard about Dogman growing up as like, the song or whatever. Cause you guys were talking about it last week.
And I've had an encounter with, but I'm pretty sure it was one too.
I have a screen. I saw that there was a guy that played the video, and I screen recorded it a couple weeks ago. He had a podcast and he was playing it. The video that inspired that song, and he said that came out that video was fake. I don't know. That video looked pretty damn real to me. Like it was like a pretty wide shoulder system. I haven't seen anything like that, but I feel like that's like one thing you hear is like the wide shoulder system. Like that's unmistakable. You're not gonna see a bear standing up with a wide shoulder unless it's like a grizzly or something. Like a black bear around here isn't gonna look like that. But in that video, it's it's kind of creepy. But I never knew, I didn't see that video growing up. I just heard the song, so I didn't really know any evidence. I just seen different caricatures and stuff that were on Halloween or whatever, or hear people talk about Dogman in different podcast episodes. I didn't really like to think about it, but I will tell you one time I was here in my yard at night and I heard a pretty loud howl that I don't know. I can't say obviously was a dog man or maybe a squatch and make that type of noise too. I'm not really sure, but I can tell you that the way that it howled, you can hear neighborhood dogs or whatever, that sound, how far they can carry. Usually if you can hear a dog barking, knowing where your neighbors are, you can tell where that dog came from, or uh, maybe a small, the dog echoing through the woods, maybe in the subdivision that's like a quarter mile that way. Sometimes every once in a while on a clear night, I can hear like a dog barking from, but it's super faint. Like this was like about that far away, but it was like super loud and you could hear it. And I would like to think that's probably what that was. I've never seen anything, but I'll tell you a couple stories that I've heard. One time I had a Jeep Cherokee, and I don't know if you guys know about Jeeps, and them O2 sensor blowing all the time. And I brought it over to my buddy because he's like a Jeep dude and he lives like a mile or two down the road. And I brought it to his house and I dropped it off, and I'm just like standing in front of his garage, BS and just kind of talking about life or whatever. And I can't remember how it was brought up, but I'm sure it's like me bringing it up. Like, oh, just, maybe him asking me what I'm doing or something, and probably just said something about squatching or something about the thing. And he just went right into it. And this happened to me multiple times where I'll bring it up and you'll instantly get a story right away. Like, and this guy, when like I said, I brought my Jeep and I brought it up and I said something. I don't remember if I said Squatch and Dogman or just Dogman, but he went right into a story about Hoosier Valley, which I brought up last week, where Brian was talking about he had been. He said he was two-tracking in Hoosier Valley because it's a spot, you know, like it's a party spot from like the 80s and 70s and stuff that people have been going to forever and just partying and stuff. And there's houses back in there and stuff. But he said he was back there two-tracking and he kind of got to this spot where there was two trees kind of coming up like this, and he saw a young dog-looking creature that was, you know, probably only a few feet tall. And then all of a sudden, a bigger one just kind of came in with the hands on the trees like this and kind of went in with the loud screech at the car, you know, with the mouth open. This is how this guy's describing it to me. I'm not gonna say his name, but how he's describing it to me. And like I said, he's talking about he's describing the teeth and everything to me. So I know he's like not just like making this up or just saying he saw one just by the way he's kind of describing the creature to me. Like you can tell he had seen something. He's talking about how he can see the hands against the tree and stuff like that. So that was the first story I've ever heard. And I was like, whoa, that kind of like, you know, inspired me to ask, you know, anybody else over time. And actually the guy that's working for me right now, he said he was driving one time and you know, looking off the side of the road like a lot of us do for animals and stuff, and saw this big old dog-looking creature
Mhm.
running on two legs down to four and kind of just like ran off into the woods. And he didn't really know how to describe it, and I don't think he really knows. And he's a native cat, but he's not really too familiar with a lot of the teaching and stuff. He's just like, you know, um, didn't really get into a lot of that stuff, but he didn't really know how to describe it. Just by the way he said it, the way he described it, though, to me, I'd like to think it was probably that, or
You were-
maybe the type. I don't know if it's like type 2 or type 3, the kind with the bare face or whatever. Maybe it
Mhm.
could have been that too. I'm not really sure.
Where was
Um,
this? Was this near you? Near some of your locations?
I got some notes here. I'm trying to. Yeah, this was here. This was here in northern Michigan. Oh,
Okay.
that other story again. That was northern Michigan too.
And it gets better. We got Dwayos and we got Big Feets.
And bears.
Gugway. Brian Barber said Gugway. So, uh oh. Oh no. Man, he was just getting on a roll too, man. He got some cool stuff up there. Wow.
I don't know what keeps going on mine.
He's
I'm
back.
just having
Yeah.
to refresh it
Who
over and
knows?
over.
He's here.
Uh-oh.
He's back. It's all good.
Oh, and so another friend of mine, I was at her house. We were
And he
just
doesn't skip a beat. I love it.
we were just having some beer. That's how my brain works. That's all that
That's
like
good.
you know
Go for it, brother.
wild
It's
research
like
and just
everybody
like.
else here. We're, you know.
But I was talking to another friend about it, and we were just kind of hanging out. And I think we were talking this particular story. I kind of remember because we were talking about squatches for a minute. And I'll try to get people into it, like you know, like they're around here, they're real. Like don't think they're you know, and tell them some of the local stories of the tribes and stuff, of how it's like been a creature and part of the stories and stuff like that to try to give some validity to it. And we were talking about that, and she was kind of blown away, and I was like, just wait till you hear about Dog Man. And in that moment, when I told that to her, it kind of brought her back. I don't know if trauma or what kind of just like brushed that out of her mind. She kind of just went to, you'll never believe, like when I was in my backyard, you know how when you're in the dark and you got the back porch light, it only goes so far and then it kind of fades away. So if something's kind of standing on the edge of it, it's kind of just like barely lit, you know. She said she went in her backyard and she saw this like tall, skinny, super strong looking creature with some, and I didn't describe what Dogman looked like to her at this point. She was describing these two pointy ears and this like big snout face, and it kind of just like saw her and kind of just like gave her a look and just like went off into the darkness. And again, this is just a person who isn't even about any of this stuff. You know what I mean? And like that's a lot of the stories that I have of people around here. Not too many people actually like are like us, like want to know more about it. They just kind of have a story and that's it. You know, and then they kind of wipe it out of their brain and never really bring it back up. And like a lot of times, unless you bring it up to them, they might never talk about it again. And it's like a buddy I make music with. He doesn't necessarily believe, but I'll tell you what, this guy he's from Tacoma, and he went fishing with his uncle when he was a kid, and he was like this little 3 foot tall monkey looking creature went running along the rock system where we were hiking. I'm like, dude, that was a baby squatch. What are you talking about? Like, don't believe, like what else would that be? He's like, I know, but it looked like a little monkey. I'm like, dude, like what else looks like a little monkey running around like on the rocks? Like, and like again, this is somebody who doesn't. I don't know. Like some people, they just can't get their brain.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's dissidence or whatever, but they just will not believe it. Like no matter what you show.
Art has a question here, real quick, asking about a female author from Michigan who wrote about Dogman. Did you happen to know who that might be, or?
I've heard about that.
I think Al said it was Linda Godfrey.
What's that now?
I think Al said.
Oh, okay, Linda Godfrey. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Godfrey.
Yeah, we gotta get
Al. Remember. I think those are about the only Dogman stories I have. Again, like that seems to be more rare. I feel like the Squatch stories are pretty thick around, especially like Benzie in certain areas around here, like especially on podcasts and stuff. Like you listen, like these there's still a lot of thick woods around here. So the fact people are like, oh, I've gone hunting and I've never seen one. And you hear that a lot. And it's like, dude, like you take the same trail, or maybe you find the spot and you're comfortable, and then you typically walking in and out of that same spot. You go check your game trail cams or whatever. Like, and especially if like, but you might never see, say, a coyote, or even a bear, and those are around pretty heavily. Like there's actually bears that are around here they're being seen more now, but there was a while that they were pretty elusive, and people would be like, oh, there's no bears around here. There's only a couple, but now there's a bear that ran through my yard, and like they haven't been around here like that in a minute. But I mean, for like the last 10, 15, 20 years, or I'm not really sure. I think you guys were talking about it last week. I don't think you can hunt bear down here. I think it's only up in the UP, but they're still down here for sure. I'm not sure if wolf are down here, but I feel like something like a Sasquatch, there's definitely lots of waterways, because it seems like they like to follow waterways. And that's like one of the things that I think Kumbo talks about, that Nate dude was talking about that. You find the waterway system, and that's how you'll find them. And I'll tell you, like, I'm going to do that this summer. That same guy I was saying that saw the Dogman running down the side of the road up on the hill. I went kayaking with him last summer on the Manistee, on this spot that I'll say it just because the stretch is so long, it doesn't really matter, and it's like pretty desolate. It's I want to say High Rollaway. So you kayak around, like High Rollaway is this like famous spot where you go see like the colors and stuff, and that you can see the river, the Manistee right there, like the little horseshoe bend right there, and we kayaked along, like, I don't even know how long that was. Like, I'm not very familiar with that spot. It probably was very risque or whatever what we did. And I typically would have more survival stuff with me, tents, at least sleeping bag and stuff. This particular run, we thought we were just going to, we parked our car, one of us parked over here and the other one parked over here, and we rode the kayak, to the next car, and then we drove back to his car. And that's what we were doing on this particular trip. And I parked my car down here, and we saw somebody local. We're like, hey, how long do you think if we parked over on this like this campground over here. How long do you think it would take to kayak to this bridge right here? And he was like, oh, you'll get here by tonight if you leave. You get there in the next hour or so. That was the only information I had about this trip. Long story short, we ended up having to sleep in our kayak in our I did have 2 hammocks with us. So that particular night we had to sleep in hammocks on the side of the river. And let me tell you what, if you guys never kayaked in the river at night and the sun's starting to set and you can't see nothing, that's one of the most I'd rather be in the deep woods with no flashlight than that experience. That's like pretty scary. You can't see the shore where you're getting to, and like we were in a pretty rugged spot. This isn't really tied into any Sasquatch stuff. I'm just saying I want to go back to this particular area this coming summer more prepared and kayak deep into this wood system and kind of wander through those woods, because those woods are really thick and full of I'm sure of like uncharted territory, just because there's not necessarily trails running through all of them. They're just like thick forest along both sides of the river. There's like a campground here or there, like over like a 10-mile stretch, but for the most part it's just thick woods. And I will say some funny stuff, because that guy, he's never camped like that before, and he was trying to like his hardest to not stop and camp. He was like, no, we'll just keep going, we'll find our way back, like. And I'm like, dude, we got to stop, it's getting too dark. So we ended up stopping, and we set up we found a spot where we could set up our hammocks like like this, and then we had a fire in between us because it got cold that night, and I didn't have any sleeping bags or nothing. We just had the hammocks, and my sweatshirt was kind of wet, so we had a big fire going. And like again, like I don't like to use a flashlight walking through the woods too much, just because, like I said, it messes with my eyes, and I'd much rather, because then you're shining your flashlight everywhere trying to see what it is. I'd rather just like kind of, if I need to shine it, then I'll shine it, that kind of thing. And he was shining his flashlight into the woods like every 2 minutes, like someone shining over there. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just relax a little bit. Like, do you want to see? Let's say someone was standing there or something big, like, would you want to see it? And he was like, no. I'm like, well, quit shining it in the woods. If it like wants to show itself, it'll show itself, and whatever, it's an animal or whatever, like, just relax a little bit. Like, but he said he's down to do that run again with me this summer, so I definitely plan to maybe take a day and go there early, because those woods right there, I'm not sure, Brian, if you're still in here, yeah, that particular wood system on the Manistee is a lot thicker than a lot of other woods around here. And I only figured that out just looking on Google Maps and just kind of seeing, when you're looking on Google Maps, you can see where houses are and neighborhoods and stuff. And this particular area is just like a nice solid chunk of wood. So I want to get in there this summer and do some squatching.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tree structures. You said you've seen some tree structures along the way.
Yeah. I'd like to say, sorry to let my cat out. Mostly tree breaks, and I know, like, I would like to say I know for sure that's what it was, just because of like I said, I'm 6'7", and I had to reach up to where it was broken at, and like I said, all of them were along the trail system. So to me, it was almost like marking. That's like the trail, like them, whoever's like around there would say like, hey, that's like the trail system of the humans or whatever. And like I said, that's also where I saw the X's. There was definitely some questionable tree. I don't want to call it deadfall, but I think that's probably what it was. I have pictures of it all, but there was definitely some like bigger things. Nothing with the root system like facing up or nothing with the opposite end stabbed in the ground. I haven't seen anything like that particularly, but I have seen a bunch of tree breaks and some very interesting trees leaned up against other trees that seemed like it was something that the trees were so big. I'm pretty sure a human couldn't do. Maybe a couple people, but I guess I don't know who would be leaning those type of big trees. And that's again on the same trail system. And that's actually no, this summer I was at this spot. My friend was taking me to she said she saw a bear cave down there, and I didn't really see, or the bear den down there. I didn't see the bear den when we went down there, and she worked with me for a while, so she got to hear me rambling on about squatches and tree breaks and stuff. And we got to this spot at the end of the trail where we're gonna walk down to the river. She's like, look at this tree right here. And yeah, sure enough, it was an X. And the way it was broken and kind of stabbed in the ground, it just like looked very, I don't know, not human. I mean, that particular could have been a human one, but just by the way it was, it just like didn't look like, it just looked off, you know. But I definitely seen quite a few X's and tree breaks. I've seen some teepees out in the middle of nowhere, but I don't want to say that's what they are. Like I don't, because I don't know. There's just too many people that explore some of these areas, and there's definitely, you know, hunters that will build hunting camps that they'll refrequent every season or whatever, and kind of go back to. So I don't know if I've seen a lot of definitely stuff like that out in the woods, like hunter stuff that's like way out to where I wander.
Yeah, the
Where
Don
they
was asking
set up
if the
camp.
tree breaks, did the tree breaks appear to be facing a certain direction?
Yeah, I guess now that you're saying that, I would like to say maybe I'll have to go double check on my pictures. North, if anything, if I could say one of them, because that's the direction we were walking towards. Or no, I guess we were walking west, so I guess it would have been west. The way that they were broken, I guess I don't know if like if it was like changing direction, but I know the way that they were broken was literally not over the trail. Maybe one of them was over the trail, but most of them were just broken on the side of the trail, like literally right here. Like, so if you're walking on the main trail, it's literally like the tree that's right next to the trail, or the one next to that one. And it's like I said, like they weren't like lower to the ground like a human would have done it, because there's those too that I'll see, and I'll know doing enough research, I guess, like I'm not gonna call everything a squatch for sure. Like I question everything. I question like even the noises I've heard. I'm questioning and trying to find a solution that's not that first before I go right to that. But like I said, the tree knocks and the Ohio house, some of that stuff is like unquestionable. I know that's exactly what that was. There's no doubt in my mind.
You can't mistake it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same direction as the trail. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, to me, that's what it was. And the X's too were facing the trail like perfectly. So the X would be like right on the edge of the trail. Like if the trail's going this way, the X was like, okay, like after this side of the trail, don't go any further, or you know, don't cross over here if you're a human, either whatever that means. But that's how the X's were always right next to the trail like that I've seen. Not even on that trail, I've seen X's on another spot too that were questionable, that didn't look like deadfall. Look like they were stuck in the ground. Because I mean, the sticks are stuck in the ground. They're not just kind of laying against the tree. They're like shoved in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for real. Like I've seen some teepees in the middle of the woods for sure. Like super questionable. I have pictures of all of it. Again, like that's the unfortunate part of my scattered brain is I have tens of thousands of photos and I don't really necessarily organize them all, because I'm always taking pictures and I'm always like, oh, and I'll like create a folder so I know where they're at. Like I can scroll through and find them, but for the most part, I don't necessarily have a folder of like, okay, here's all my tree breaks, here's all this. It's like I'll know by maybe the day that I was hiking there or something. Like I don't necessarily have I guess I don't necessarily go squatching per se. I just go on hikes.
Right.
And then if I see stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm taking pictures of this. Like, but I mean, I'm out there to find, I find like, stuff like this just laying around and stuff. It's like, that's like half the reason I go out there is to like, Oh, the arches. Yeah. So the arches. Yes. So that actually, now that you're saying that, so that X I just brought up, I'm glad you said that. So the X I was just saying, my friend pointed out, there was an arch that was tied into the X. And then those arches I've actually seen on that same trail system where the tree breaks were. But again, like some of those I'm just like questionable, because it looks like, because the deadfall will create an arch too. If it like falls and catches a tree it'll kind of give it the arch, and just like that deadfall is like holding this down, and then the tree sometimes ends up still growing that way, and it's shaped funny the rest of its life, or maybe dies off. But I think some of the arches I've seen are that like Squatch made because of the way it was so big and just like brought down. I'm pretty sure I have pictures of it, but it's also hard to on some of the pictures I have to see how big some of this stuff is. It's like even the tree breaks. It's like because it's like taken from a picture, and I'm not necessarily standing next to the tree, but if I was, you would see that it was like 8 feet up the tree, and then there's a break. And like same with the arches, like the arches I've seen are pretty big. They're not like a human going up to reach and then pulling it over. It'd be like walking down the tree and then setting something at the end of it. I'm not sure how that works, but I've seen a couple of arches. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good night, Al. Thanks for joining us. Great show. Great show. Great guest. See that? They love you, David. They love you. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is that's my logo for my Skin Kwando.
There you go.
Now, what's your channel name?
Skin Kwando.
Your channel name?
Yeah, Skin Kwando.
Okay.
And I'm gonna post some of the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm editing a video right now because I'm just getting into editing some of the stuff myself. I have like that going to see like that trip I was saying up in the UP when I was going to see that mound. I'm editing together. I have some like GoPro and some phone footage of some of those woods, and that adventure alone, like I can't lie, like I was scared for a minute. Like I got to a point where I was in the middle of nowhere. Like literally, if I would have screamed, nobody would have heard me. And I came and I was in a wetland, and I just like I was just like it took. I'm like probably get some cuts on me, and like I said, I lost my hat because I'm like going under. It's not just like easy walking at all. You're moving super slow. I don't know if you guys went through some deep woods before, but that's like you can't move very fast, and you're like you can't even really see 10 feet in front of you sometimes. You're just like there's the way the branches are and everything. And I ended up at this like wetland, and luckily just looking at my Google Maps, I was able to realize that right when I got like that scared and thought I was just going to be screwed out in the middle of nowhere, kind of stuck, trying to have to just like backtrack to my car through what I just came through that tore me up. And like I said, it's not even just a straight walk either. Like some of those UP stuffs, there's like creek ravines that are like this in the deep forest where there's like a little trailway that you can walk at the bottom. But I mean, this right here, you can't walk up that super easy. It's not that easy to walk up that. Sometimes it's super muddy. Sometimes it's like full of leaves and stuff. So like being down that, you have to like either walk your way out or backtrack to where you started from and kind of try to take a different way. And if you're off in the middle of the woods, kind of just wandering around, and like it was like a lot of that getting to the spot. And like that video, I'm going to try to piece that together. Like, see, on that type of adventure, I wasn't necessarily looking for tree breaks or necessarily. There was a moment I had when I was in a ravine like that and I heard something, and I'm sure I have it on video where I'm just like, it's just me. I'm here in peace. Like, I don't know what you are, but I just like, I'm trying to get out of here. Like, I'm going to be out of your way. Like I was like just trying to speak some peace into the air because I can't lie. Like, I was like I said, I've never really been. I think you need to get in touch with Brian.
Yeah, Brian has a message there for you. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely I will show you some of the spots. I'm sure I'm even missing out. That's why I took some notes, and unfortunately I took them today, and I was trying to get onto this and make sure I didn't miss nothing. But I'm sure I'm sure we're gonna cut ways, and I'm gonna be remember a couple more stories. Like, oh yeah, and I'll have to shoot you an email, be like, yo, I'm gonna. But maybe me and Brian can come on together and just like show some pictures of the area. Awesome. I do have a lot of pictures, and I've been going through.
I tell you, you need to get in touch with Brian because you and Brian could definitely get into some stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I'm all about, like I said, I'm all about just like going deep with no flashlights type stuff. Like that trail I was talking about where the tree breaks are. I don't think I got to this. I probably trailed off. I've walked that to watch the sunset because like I said, like the Lake Michigan sunsets are just like to die for because you're on the western shoreline, so the sun sets on the west, so it's like right there.
Mary.
Hi,
And
Mary. Yeah.
and I hope not. And you know, you're not the first person that said that either. It's funny. And
I hope they don't want me because I'm only 6'7".
6'7".
5'6".
5'7".
Yeah.
5'7" with tall shoes on.
5'6".
I've walked back through that.
Standing in the back of his truck, maybe.
I've walked back through that trail without a flashlight a couple times after watching the sunset on the beach, and I'll tell you what, like that can be pretty nerve-wracking walking through those woods because I've walked right into them, and you can hear like stuff echoing, like I said, like the foxes and the owls and the cats, and you can just hear all that stuff just echoing through the woods. So you really don't know if it's like that owl. I've heard a lot of owls. I haven't really heard the fake owl yet. I'm definitely keep my ear out and try to pay attention to the noises because I do believe some of the stuff I've heard was probably some questionable things that because I don't know all the animals. There's way too many animals. I don't know if you guys ever listened to all the owl noises. There's some scary noises.
And owls can do some crazy stuff. They can sound like monkeys.
Yeah, they sound demonic, even like almost like a whoa, like I don't like some of the noises I heard on YouTube, like of owls in the area. I'll try to familiarize myself with the noises so I know when I hear it, I'm not just like oh squatch. That's got to be a squatch. Like I said, there's a bird that makes a like a like type kind of noise or whatever, and I don't know what it does with its feet or something, so I want to familiarize myself with that, so I'm not,
I'll tell you what will scare the shit out of you is a blue heron.
Oh yeah, a couple times. No, kayaking for sure. I've had actually that trail I was talking about by where I found the shell I just showed you. Not like there's turtles all over right there, so I like to go and check out some of the big old snapping turtles and stuff. And
I've caught some.
Yeah, I was walking down, and this blue heron just comes swooping up the tree like 5 feet from me. Just those things are huge too. Yeah, they're around here. They're around here a lot.
David, I had some something mimicking the blue heron. Yeah, blue heron, aka T-Rex vocal.
Yeah. Oh, I think I heard you. I heard you say that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I guarantee you it was not 3 blue herons. I can tell you that much. Because the only place there wasn't one was in the barn. The rest of them were on the other side of me, around the manure pit. And you could tell the way it was making that shriek that it did not sound like a normal heron.
Yeah, it's like deep. It's like a deep heron.
500-pound heron.
Yeah. And I've always wanted to hear that because I've heard a lot of people say that, like the owl and the herring, or even your name or something that you would do, and then
heard some
kind of
weird
hear
stuff.
that back.
I heard one snoring. Well, it was mimicking. It was mimicking my friend snoring.
At night, you heard this?
At midnight.
Yeah. See, I've heard
3 miles off trail in a state forest in western Maryland, like right up on the border of West Virginia. And there wasn't anybody else out there. We were the only people camped in that section. I mean, we barely saw anybody. I mean, we saw hikers, but no one was camped around us the whole time we were there. And that was at 12:30 at night. And there were only 3 of us in camp. And I was in one of those booger tacos.
The booger taco, yeah. I need to do the hammock camping more.
I'll tell you what.
Time I slept in that.
If you can get a good spot to camp in, the tacos are a great way to sleep in because you're suspended in the air. But all right, Jerry.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Oops.
Well,
we'll get it right sooner or later.
But the thing about that is, David, if you sleep in one of those, here's a FYI for everybody that's never slept in one. make sure you have you ever slept in one, David Blaylock?
I have never. No.
So the key to that is moisture wise, you want an oxygen barrier. So get
Below
like
you?
make sure you have like a mattress pad or something inside of it, because if you don't, they'll sweat. And then you'll wake up wet in the morning, which was a trick one of my friends taught me before I started doing it, so I haven't had to wake up with a wet hammock. So make sure you've got something, even if it's like an inflatable. I just carry one of those little blow up ones now because it takes up less space than a
Yeah, I got one of those. I even got a tall one. Yeah.
one of the big pads. That way you don't have to carry all that extra weight when you're going in. When you do it a couple times, you'll figure out real quick what you need and what you don't.
Yeah, that's how I figured mine out. Doing mine, just trial and error. Like, oh, I wish I had this, or see something at the store. Like, oh, that would work for me. Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of stuff that I've gathered that fits in my backpack. Usually, I have it. I like to do the kayak camping stuff. I've done that a few times. That's pretty fun. Like, I've done that in the UP. Like I said, there's a spot I go on this island, and that's pretty awesome. Having everything there with you. But I'm gonna bring a hammock next time. My hammock's I got one of the ones that got the bug net that you can kind of drape up and keep the bugs out too. Because I don't know if it's like that where you're at, but man, the bugs get crazy, especially in the UP. There's black flies up there that are just like will just devour you, and the mosquitoes.
It depends on where we are in Maryland. The bugs can get pretty bad. Like if you go down towards the shore, where we used to,
that's how it is here.
Places we used to hunt. David, I don't know if you've ever experienced bad mosquitoes.
I lived in Alaska.
I was gonna say you were in Alaska, so
yeah.
David's actually in Oregon.
Nice. I like it over there. I haven't explored a lot over there. I've been over there, but I haven't just drove and seen all the ravines and all they just go off forever. It looks pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, David, there's a guy in here named Art that's in the channel all the time. And he was asking if you ever use infrared or night vision.
No, but I've been looking at them. I just can't decide what I want to get.
I just bought a thermal.
I want to get something of the sort, even to just look at animals.
I'll tell you, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, I want one.
And then Blaylock's got a night vision. I haven't bought one yet. Jerry's got a night vision and a thermal. And Brian Barber's seen some pretty interesting stuff on a thermal. The disappearing raccoon.
Yeah.
Via one big hairy arm.
Oh man, that's creepy.
That is creepy.
No more trash panda.
The heat signature just kind of fading away.
Well, it was more or less you see a big red arm heat signature come out from behind the tree, and Mr. Trash Panda disappears.
Yeah, see, I haven't seen nothing like that. I sit here and talk all like ballsy, like I'm roaming the woods. I'll go by myself in all these areas I'm talking about, and I'll just roam around. I haven't seen nothing like that specifically. So I really hope it doesn't ruin my woods experience because I love the woods. Like I said, I almost went today. It's only 1 degree out, and just to kind of get away and be in there. But having night vision would be pretty awesome, especially out. Does yours record?
Yeah.
Because I would like to get one that you can record. Because I feel like I'd be frustrated if you see something cool, even if it's an animal, and not be able to record it.
Exactly.
Because then you could talk about it all day, and if you can't show it, then it's like,
yeah.
I feel like my research though, I don't really care to prove anything or convince.
I don't either.
Like, it's just for me. Like I like the fact that I love the woods a lot, and if it's like this there's like a lot of. I'd like to think there's a lot of them. A lot of people think there might just be like a couple families, like some people you might talk to, maybe not us. They, you know, don't know. They might think there's just one roaming around Michigan, and you saw the one. You know what I mean? Or maybe people are like it's Patty, and everybody sees Patty only. You know what I mean? Patty
Yeah.
over here, and it goes back over there. Like that's honestly, I can't lie. Like that's when I first started getting into that. I didn't know. Like I started looking, and then you start finding out there's like boogers down south, and like they're smaller down there,
Yeah.
and bigger the further north you go.
I'll
And
tell
stuff
you,
like that.
we got a lot of friends from down south, and you mentioned Coonbow. Our buddy Greg, he's not in here tonight, but he's down in Alabama, and him and Coonbow are like brothers. Like those two.
I heard you say that. That's really cool.
Oh yeah.
I like him a lot. Kumbo's like he's one that I've probably listened to everything that he said.
He's the godfather of Bigfoot. So
yeah, his knowledge and how smart he is like, and Bear's kind of, I don't know what happened to him. He doesn't seem to be out as much, but
yeah, I think he's kind of in the shadows these days.
Yeah, and like William Jennings or whatever, I'll listen to him a little bit too. Anybody that acts like they know everything, I just kind of steer away from that kind of, because nobody really knows. I don't care how many times you've seen stuff. There's like, we don't know, and I feel like there's so many like, like I said, like just in Michigan alone, like I'm sure there's got to be like hundreds. Brian, I don't know. What do you think? How many like there would be around here? Because I feel like if they like go within like a 20-mile or 50-mile radius or something, and there's like family groups or something, or maybe there's like tribal groups. That's like going back to that. I think that the tribe would like to say, like some of the people I did talk to would say that they are just another protector of the forest, like almost like another tribe. So, but again, like I haven't really asked too many people that would really know that.
I've heard it. Other Indians say they're big brother.
Yeah, exactly, and like
boss of the mountain, big brother, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes they'll just like show up and like be like more seen around like tribal lands and stuff like that. And maybe that's just because they're more comfortable because they can see the different vibration of the human. And like if you're living off the land more, so maybe you're like just somebody living off grid. I don't know. There's like a lot of people like that one guy, he lived up in Alaska. Maybe you know who I'm talking about, and he like ended up living off, and he was on one of those shows, maybe Alone or something like that, or one of those Alaska shows, and he was living, and he ended up having like a pack of wolves come out to him, and he had to there was like 20 of them. He has all sorts of crazy stories out there. He doesn't believe at all. There's like some people like that you just hear like, I've been out in the woods forever, and it's not possible. I've seen it all, like, and that just like amazes me. But then there's that other guy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. He's up in Canada. The howtohunt.com maybe. I can't remember his name. Like yeah, he's got some of the coolest stories, bear stories. Like man, I would listen to that guy. That like if you like listen to his stories and like still don't believe, like someone with his like he's just been like taking people out in the woods his whole life. That's what he does, right? Like, and he's been hunting since he was a kid and saw his first one when he was a child, walking way up there in the deep woods up there. Cause like the woods are thick here. I can't imagine what they're like, when they're even thicker in the UP. I'm sure they're even thicker in Canada.
Isn't that
you know what I mean?
Steve, yeah.
Stephen Ishdahl.
Steve, yeah.
Yep. The one you're talking about, how to hunt.
Yeah, Steve. Yep.
Steve Ishdahl.
Yeah, he's got some crazy stories. And that's like I said, like the people that I like to listen to that because I feel like the more stories, like you guys said, like even if I have never seen one, it's like me sharing this stuff with you guys. It just like adds a little tiny piece to the puzzle, and you can kind of start piecing more to the puzzle. And that's how it is for me in my experience in this whole thing. Like I said, I don't really talk to too many people about it besides stuff that I know. It's not like they're sharing back their research. Maybe they might have one story but it's not like they're over here knowing anything about it, like about the gray skin or how their arms are longer or wider shoulders or stuff like that. It's um a small group of people that actually like really get into it. Like I really get into it. Like I really I think yeah, I got this. I don't know if you guys read this one, the David Hatcher Childress book.
I have not.
And it's pretty much a bunch of stories from all over. Like there are a lot of there's like pictures, a lot of pictures in here, but it's just stories from all over. I was actually before we got on, I was trying to find one in Michigan because I know there's like a bunch of them in here. But these are just like stories from the 1800s, 1700s, like from different fur trade, whatever, just different stories. That because I'm pretty sure didn't Daniel Boone have a story? There's like a lot of people that have stories. That one president who wrote his book, like
Roosevelt,
didn't
yeah.
like
Roosevelt,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like
Roosevelt. Absolutely.
yeah. And I know there's like I can't think of the actor's name. He had a show even like he did. Rob, maybe.
Yes. Rob Lowe.
Yeah, Rob Lowe. He had an
Yeah.
experience. And then he
Yeah.
like all of a sudden became a believer and trying to convince
Yeah.
people. And look at like everybody around him was like, oh, that dude's probably crazy. Oh, he's one of them now. Like but it's like you can't help it when you like come across something like it's like so fathomably unbelievable. Like to think that like even just around here, like an 8 foot to 10 foot tall being, maybe even 7 foot tall. I'm 6'7", so I've seen like a 6'10" person. Like that's only 3 inches taller than me, but to me, it's like still tall. It's like yo, like you're tall, like and it's only 3 inches taller than me. So I can't imagine seeing like an 8 foot tall something with shoulders that are like 4 feet wide. That's just like kind of that can crawl on its fingertips and its
Yeah.
toes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Never
like
seen
super creepy to me. Like that the
Yeah.
fact that it can do that and then like run it just as fast on all fours. Because I mean, I
Levon,
didn't know that.
that is huge. That is big.
I didn't know that.
Trust
That's interesting. Because I was like,
Yeah.
I think it's funny that somebody like
That
Joe
could be the
Rogan
start
is
of
like
something.
that is
That could very well be
100%
the start of something.
that doesn't believe like because someone like Survivor Man, like he's got all sorts of experience,
Yep.
and he's been all over the
Yep.
place. And like there's that I don't know if you guys follow him, like
Oh,
he's
yeah.
got the episode, I think it was in Alaska. And he in the episode, you see him look over in the woods and he keeps looking over in the woods. And like when he does the commentary for that on YouTube, I don't know if you guys watched any of those. He re-released all the episodes and he did commentary to them all. And it's like really awesome to like watch him talk about some of the stuff. But he was talking about that episode that because he did the Bigfoot shows too. And yeah, he said he heard something like some trees like rocking like really hard, and like he's had some experiences that he's never seen one, and he said he's not a full believer. I don't maybe he is now, but he said he'd like to try to prove it, and I think he's about to drop another show that's onto that. Even someone like David what's the guy's name from Mr. 411?
David
Yeah,
Paulides.
David Paulides. Like he started with the whole Hopi tribe and going up, someone gave him some money to prove that Bigfoot is real, and he went and stayed with was that the Hopi
Yep.
tribe or not the Hopi tribe? Whoever was in Northern California, that tribe, I can't remember
The
the name of
Hoopa.
it. The
Hoopa.
Hoopa tribe, yeah, because it was
Yeah.
the book was like the Hoopa
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
And
You
I
got-
grew
you
up
got
right there. That's where
Joe
I grew up.
California beside you there. Yeah.
Yeah.
and I would like to say, just as we're talking about that, I'd like to think the Mr. 401 is definitely there's some squatch in it within some of that for sure. Maybe not all of it, but I would like to say some of those are super squatchy, especially like the one where the kid was missing and like the hikers saw the kid like getting carried up a rock side by a hairy creature. Like, come on, what do you think that's not a bear? Like climbing up the side of a cliff with
I
the
know.
kid, like that's like but I think if someone like him, like you see how he handles it, though, I think he handles it really well. He'll talk about it and he won't say what it is. He'll never say what it is. He'll never say what he thinks it is. Maybe he'll say maybe now he does. He says it's like all of it. Maybe there's portals and UFOs or whatever involved in some of those. But I think when it comes to the squatches, he kind of just like will say it was by a waterway. And like a lot of the ones are by waterways, but then also within the same, discussion, maybe not at that moment, but somewhere in the discussion, he's kind of always saying the squatches like to follow the waterways too. So it's kind of like a lot of his stuff like ties together with it, that he's trying to say it without saying it. So he doesn't end up in the crazy bunch, where they're automatically gonna not look at his information anymore because he's just another crazy squatcher. Like, how what's the dude's name that always does the yell on that show? That
Bobo?
lost a lot of, yeah, Bobo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, that dude's super smart, but he's like always gonna be in a public eye, like just some dumb
Yeah.
squatcher, like that's just
Yeah.
like an idiot. But he's actually super
James
smart.
Fay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a super smart dude that knows about the woods pretty well, but
Yep.
the show makes him look like a dummy, and it's like that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is
Like,
unfortunate.
and it's like even what's his name, that like I listen to their podcast too, him and um yeah, too many names to try to remember.
It's Cliff and somebody
Cliff
else.
Clark.
Yeah, Cliff and
Clark.
Bobo.
Yeah,
It's
Cliff and
Cliff and
Bobo.
Bobo. Yeah, they have a show, and Cliff is super smart too, and he has this whole museum over there, wherever he's at, and but yeah, he's still like considered like no matter what information he has, like still like
It's all
within
about
the
who you're
public
in
eye,
with.
just yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, I think the show had its place for a very short time to raise awareness,
But
you
now
know.
it's a joke.
But it's
I think
yeah. When you deal with people that not us, but people that are well versed in the subject, have had many years, i.e., Kumbo, House, et cetera, and other people, Dan Ricky. There's a bunch of people out there, but
Now there's one. Dan
when you
Rick-
listen to those guys, that's the real deal, not this
those
Hollywood.
dudes. I want to go hang out with those dudes in the woods. They got some of the craziest stories, like about them being underneath their car and like them seeing them go like crawl away and stuff. Like I can't, like they got the craziest story. Like I can't, like how they can just like pop out like that's where we're gonna go, and then they go there and they
Monkey
have an
Wench, which is
experience.
Mary Fabian, she's
absolutely.
She's had that happen, and she's been out with Kumbo and some of them when that kind of stuff's taking place. And
I can't lie, I would be like one of them dogs just up underneath the, like locking the door. Like I don't even know, like especially seeing them crawling on their fingers. Like I don't know how I would take that. Like I don't think that would really shock my system for a minute. I would go, that feeling that you get where you feel like you're dreaming. Like I've had that when I'm like, actually, I'll tell you on that. There was a time where I was hiking on that same trail where the tree breaks were. And I don't know, have you guys ever seen porcupine climb a tree?
I know, I know what you mean. I've never seen one do it, but David has.
So I was walking and I hear it, breaking. So I'm like trying to find it. And in that moment, and if I couldn't tell what it was. It looked like a baby monkey climbing the tree. So in that moment, I'm thinking I'm witnessing a baby squatch climb this tree. And I'm like having that feeling that I'm explaining right now, where everything was kind of just like I was in a bubble. It was just me and that item and climbing the tree. And I could like, it's like through the, maybe 10 trees in, to the forest or whatever, climbing the tree, and I could see it. I have video of it too. And it's like, I tell you what, for that whole whatever seconds that was, thinking that was a baby squatch. I was like, so I can't imagine if I like saw the crawling thing, like that'd probably be the feeling I get, where everything just kind of just like you're on like high alert or whatever within your senses are on spike. I don't even know how I would react to that, like seeing, or even like the running, because their heads like standing straight up, and because I've seen video of it. There's so many videos online, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's fake." Like I don't know, when you go watch all of them. And that's what, like I said, I like to see the evidence. Like I'm gonna go find every video I can find. There's that one girl. I don't know if you guys might be familiar with this lady. She had a problem with them in her backyard, and she ended up putting a tire that was like, they kept stealing this tire, so they chained it down, and then they ended up taking the chain and the fence, and then they brought it back. You know what I'm talking about? And then they put the mirror, and she put the camera in the mirror.
Which one was that?
Would you put the camera out there?
Yeah.
And then
I remember MK Davis talking about that.
Yeah, because they're like he stood by the fence. He went there and he stood by the fence, because that one walked up to the fence. I got chills just thinking about this.
Yeah.
And you can see its neck. You know what I mean? Like it's almost walking on all four, but its neck, you would think when we go on all fours, like our neck wants to like look up, but theirs like staying straight up. And you can see that in that video where it looks like that. It almost doesn't look real. It looks fake. and it steps right over that fence, and it is the most creepy. Especially thinking how big that fence is, because I can jump. I'm 6'7", so I can run and more or less hurdle over a fence, more or less.
Yeah.
So
I'd like MK to look at. I mean, I'm sure he breaks down pictures too, but
Yeah.
I'd like him to look at that track of mine, see if he can.
Yeah,
Did
he's
you
done
cast it?
quite a few.
I didn't get a cast. I was too far out. I didn't have any material with me.
What would you guys bring out there? I've heard of a couple people, because I want to start bringing some. I've never seen footprints, but I would love to.
Mary Fabian.
Yeah, the junk man. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, those videos are crazy. That's what I'm saying. So when people are like, there's no video, because I know there's like the Independence Day video with the female with the baby. That like kind of looks like it could be CGI or whatever. And there's like some other ones, like I don't know, like the Freeman footage, like that's pretty damn.
The Freeman footage
convincing.
is a good one.
Yeah, that's like super convincing. Like any of the ones,
and that
like
thing just blends right in when it stops.
Yeah, like
that's
not
something that's like solid like that, and it just stops right there in the trees.
And I think like you guys were talking about that before. And I think that's when people talk about cloaking, and they can, like, I've heard people say they can melt into the tree and stuff like that. Like literally, they think that that's what they're doing is becoming. I don't think that's it. I think you were saying this last week. Like it's their way their fur is, and they can like they know how.
David, I've got a really good example of that, and Jerry's seen it. One of my friends who's local cloaking.
Like on video,
and it looks like the
Predator. I've never seen a human being do that. It's amazing.
It looks like the Predator.
That's the way you worded it.
That is creepy.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, I would like to think that it's very probable that they could probably vibrate at a frequency that our eyes don't pick up. Like that's possible. Like you can't put that off the table. That's got to be a possibility that they can. Especially if they do the thing like Kumbo talks about with his science lab, how they could make like the person poop their pants or whatever in their office. Remember they were doing that trick on that person? Like, so if you think that they could do stuff like that where it would mess with their body, can our eyes can only pick up so many frequencies, and that's like the colors we see are even certain frequencies.
That's correct.
So you would think that if they were vibrating, they were able to kind of, it's just like meditating. Like I meditate too, and if you like can get into a meditative state, you kind of can change, and like you maybe not see with your physical eyes, but if they're vibrating and they put us in a certain state of mind, that I think how these people, they get sick and then they go home and they're sick for like 3 days after that. I've never had nothing happen like that to me, but I can imagine that I've had scenarios where I can imagine what that would be like, being into that like vibratory state that they could send with the vocal, or whatever that looks like, probably a super low frequency. Because I've heard somebody telling a story where they saw a juvenile that was trying to do that, and it wasn't really working out. They were kind of just like messing it up. Maybe they were just practicing it, but then the adult ended up doing it.
I can't remember.
Yeah, that I want to say it was probably a Kumbo story, and yeah, that's like. But yeah, the cloak and the thing too, where they disappear, like we were talking about earlier, like they can drop at such a fast rate, they can go from standing straight up to on their fingertips. Yeah. And if you're in the woods looking and they do that, and it's like within, just even on the video I saw of like, I think the Nate dude in Utah, like he has one video, like I said, where it's just dropping down so fast. I think Survivor Man even has a video where it's kind of like the hand is just so fast. You can't even really see it. It's just like, unless you pause the tape, you know what I mean? Or it's just like real quick. You don't really see it. So you imagine if they're standing straight up and you see them and they just drop on all fours, it looks like they might have just disappeared to your mind. And your mind is like, oh, that disappeared. But really it's like right there crawling sideways on its fingertips out of sight. Because that's where it's like a polar bear. When a polar bear, I think my buddy, I think this was in Alaska, he was like helping, like he would have to stand guard with the rifles when whoever was like, I think it was like some people like testing the ice cap or something, and he would have to sit there with the rifle. And he said he was telling me these stories because they would creep up to you and cover their eyes with their white paw, and so you couldn't see them through the snow blowing. So you couldn't see the black out of their eye, and then they would just kind of get up too close like that. You can imagine if it's got like, you know, fur that blends in with like the trees and the
Yeah.
leaves, stuff like that. It could do very much the same thing just by turning its head sideways or moving its arm different. And maybe that's why sometimes you see them, they got that big old shoulder sticking out of the tree. Maybe in their mind they're thinking they got a good camouflage going, but that's
Well,
what
yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. Because you think about some of the stories Kumbo told, you'd see them little bastards. They're like
yeah,
behind the tree that's like this wide, and they're this
yeah,
wide, and
yeah.
and they're just stopped behind it, thinking, "Oh, they can't see me." Meanwhile, you've got 2 feet sticking out on either
Yeah, that's
side, and it's hiding behind a tree that's this big.
yeah, he's got some big cojones, man. Like some of the stories he's got, especially being a kid looking out the window and seeing the
Oh,
right outside his window. But yeah, that's funny that. But that's what I'd like to think. So when I hear all these people talk about that, I'd like to say on the mind speak part though, that's like what do they call it? The woo woo or the woo ha, whatever the word that's used in
yeah.
the
See
in the
what Mary
circuit.
just said there, Jerry? That happened on
But
our Oklahoma trip.
The
Yeah.
woo. They
When
call
she
it
was
the
with
woo.
Kumbo.
yeah, the woo. Like I'm not saying like I would even like, I don't know. I really do. I feel like anything is possible, really, at this point. But I feel like you guys were talking about it last week, like if you speak in like the local tribal language, whatever um that is for the area you're in, that you would get a response back quicker than maybe saying some English words, I guess. And I feel like some of the woo and stuff like that, uh, because telepathy is real. Like whether you believe it or not, there's definitely science behind it. There's a lot of science put to some of the stuff of like uh, words being transferred from one head to another, or maybe a description of something, whether it's like remote viewing. There's like all sorts of things we can do with our mind. So I would like to say, if mind speak, if these like creatures are super smart and can mimic our words, say they have a vocal carrier, what's not to think that their brains can't also compute that and shift it over if we can do it to each other. I think that's like the mind speak. That's all that is just like there's just too many people that kind of came out and said that they I don't know, some of these people I don't necessarily believe. Some of these people, like there's a couple people I don't even want to like I don't even want know their names to even not mention them, but I wouldn't even mention them because it doesn't seem believable on some of these. But maybe it is like some of these ladies that live like deep in the woods and they talk about going back to this spot and they have like mental communication with these animals and like, oh, that's Larry and this is, Bo. These are I've been hanging out with these guys for 10 years. Maybe those are true, but I'd like to say that anybody who's got like Kumbo, like you look at him, like he's got or Bear, like is he's the one who took over his family's farm, or is that Bear? One of those two?
They both did. They both still
Yeah,
own the farms.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So like they had grandpas that like don't go back there, the boogers will get you, or whatever or what did
Yeah.
they had the other word that they would use, like, and I don't think he believes in that necessarily. But maybe they don't necessarily need to have that communication with them, and maybe those
And the
other
boogers are
people.
still there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's got some of those stories. Like that's why I wonder. Like some of these people, like Survivor Men, that are trying so hard, and like they do all these episodes, and like I see all the people that they go see. I think they went to see Scott Carpenter in one of his episodes, and there's like some, legit people that he would go see. But it's like, why don't you go see some of these people like Kumbo or some of these other people that I feel like have like hundreds of stories, if not thousands, and like they just go to people's property and they can just like find them right away. Like that dude is
Kumbo
like
needs to
Squatch
write a book.
master. Yeah, for real. Like he is like the Squatch master. I feel like
He's
he just
working on
on
one, isn't he,
Yeah.
Jerry?
Supposed to be. Yeah.
I have not. I would like to. Like that's like a lot of people got people they would like to meet. He's like definitely on my top of my list.
That's on my list.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, I would love to go camping with the dude.
And
Like,
Greg House told me, he said, if you come down to see me, he's like, we got time. I'll take you over there to because he only lives like maybe 2 hours from him. Jerry, is that what?
1 hour.
Yeah,
man,
Not quite an hour.
and David, he's like, I will take you over there. I'm like, holy shit. My head's
I would love that.
exploding.
Yeah, I would love that. Especially like, I think that happened to David Politis. It wasn't Kumbo, but he went to somebody and they're like, "You want to see one?" He's like, "Let's go," and took him somewhere. I don't know if you guys heard him tell this story. And he took him to this like edge of this like I can't remember exactly what the landscape was, but either way, there was like one that just kind of appeared. He's like, "There's one right there. Take a look." He's like looking at us right now, and he had to kind of stare at the woods for a minute, and then it kind of just like appeared, and that just kind of shows right there how good they can just like hide where we're not going to see them. Like they probably how many times we walk by them. That's why like somebody like Scott Carpenter would put like the camera behind them and stuff like that. Like that.
One of the funniest stories I ever heard was when Spencer and Greg and Misty and them all went out to Coonbo's.
Yeah.
What was it last year, Jerry? I can't remember. I think it was
a couple years ago.
They all go out there. Nobody had their equipment, had nothing out to record with. And Coonbo just goes, "Well, you think we ought to let them know they're here?" And he just goes and makes a call.
Yeah.
And within like 30 seconds, one cuts loose within like 100 yards of them. Nobody had a recorder or nothing turned on.
Yeah, he talks about that call, and he never kind of gives that up. He's like,
well, he does it because of the way people have tried to steal that stuff before.
Right.
And if you ever listen to some of these Bigfoot shows, you'll hear an abbreviated version of what he does.
Yeah,
see, I don't even know. As you're explaining it to me, I don't know. Does it sound like the Ohio Hall or something? Like I don't.
Oh, we don't know.
I can't imagine.
He grew up. David knows this. He grew up around him.
Yeah.
So he knows how to call him. Isn't that right, Blaylock?
Yeah, because I like listening to him enough. Like he's one that I like would trust with that type of like what he's talking him and Bear. Like because like when he first met Bear and Bear did the call, he's like, "Bear, do a call." And he did the call, and he looked at him. He's like, "Yo, like you know the call too."
Yeah.
Like that's like, yeah, that's awesome. Like there's not too many people like that. I think whoever just posted that about Alabama, like Bama's another dude that I would like to hang out with too. He seems like a cool person.
Yeah.
That goes out and knows where they're at and like goes to spots where they're at. And like so someone like here, if like say I met with Brian, like I feel like around here you'd almost have to like there's so many spots you literally have to maybe plan it out and kind of just like hit them and that's the thing, you got to kind of keep re-hitting them because you might hit that spot 10 times and then nothing happened. And like I said, I don't know this, but I'm just saying from experience listening to other people. But someone like Kumbo, like they go like they have I feel like maybe not every time, but he's got so many stories. That's just
that's right. That's why he doesn't
absolutely
I know that call because I tell
you,
Kumbo knows a lot.
Yeah, he was talking, and why we know that he knows a lot because he used to do that job. We would travel the country, and he said he'd have on his off nights he would just go boogering, and like in different states, and his same philosophy would work in every state.
Yeah.
So,
and he would almost find one or find sign of one in almost every state he's been in.
Yeah, that's like he does need to write a. Maybe he doesn't need to write a book, or like you know what I mean. Have like classes you got to pay for if you really want that information or something like that. Because maybe that doesn't need to go. Maybe our brains aren't mature enough yet. Because
Jerry, I've already talked to a certain someone that can get us in with that, and he'd probably be willing to do one for our.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see, I would like to bring that's what I was going back about Michigan. I would like to bring someone like him to Michigan and like have him like how he looks there. Yeah, but I think I want to say when he was talking about it, he said he'd never been here.
I think
maybe you did
Michigan's
go to
one
the
of his
UP.
5 states he hasn't been to. Yeah,
Yeah, like that's
I
like
think it's
a
5.
lot of people
What was
don't
it?
come here.
What was one of the ones he went to that he was really surprised by? Was it Rhode Island? I can't remember which one it
Yeah, it
was.
was like one of the
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
East Coast states. Yeah, yeah.
And
That
somebody was
surprises
like,
me
"Oh yeah,
too.
they're here."
Some people
Damn.
say they're on like Long Island too, and that's like I was just in New York, and that's like crazy
Yeah.
suburbia and
Yeah.
buildings and stuff forever. There's not even that many woods, but you imagine if they followed the waterways
Oh,
and stuff.
did you
That's
see
just
that, Jerry? Flat Rock, or not Flat Rock, but Coonbo hasn't had water for 2 days.
Yeah, I saw
Frozen.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not used to that
Now, no one down.
cold air.
No offense to anybody down south, but you guys, I'm sorry, but this is just a normal thing up here.
Are you talking about a drought?
No, freezing.
No, freezing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I showed you guys. It was like, I think it's like
Yeah.
-2 here right now.
Oh,
Oh,
it hit 0 last night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's cold. I was spraying some cabinet doors in my shop last night, and I had to turn up the heat. It was like way too cold out there to be doing that type of work.
I tell you, sometimes when things aren't thawing fast enough, you gotta go drag the old bullet heater out. And
Yeah.
We're lucky we're in the low teens right now.
I was gonna say Wyatt knows he's in Missouri.
Yeah.
But I would like to get with someone like Brian though and do some like winter
Yeah.
up before the winter's over, because I feel like footprints. I'll tell you, actually this is something I just remembered too. A friend of mine.
That's right, Staten Island. That's what it was.
Yeah. A friend of mine said that she woke up and there was footprints leading to her window, and I said, send me a picture of them. And how the footprints of the squatches are like right in front of the feet, like they're not like ours are like right next to each other. Theirs are kind of in front of each other, and that's how the footprints were walking up to the window. And I was like, man, you might have had the squatch looking in your window last.
Yeah.
I have the picture, but it's hard to tell from the angle she took, and I never went over there to look for my own eyes, but like that's how the footprints were though. You could tell that they were a little further apart, because I know her backyard because I've seen it, and so from the picture I can tell that it's like a 30-foot, and there's only so many footprints between that 30. You imagine and walking through the snow isn't as easy as walking just regular ground, because you got to lift your foot up and you can't go as fast or as far with a step because you're kind of trudging through the snow, and these footprints were kind of far apart, and they did have in the front of each other like this. They weren't even that close. They were like pretty far apart. So I would like to think that's like go look for stuff like that just like you can't deny that there's no animal that does that.
That's right.
That leaves such a big deep mark. I've seen rabbits and like even other animals that their prints only go down like so far. They don't go very deep.
Right.
Sometimes mine don't even go that deep. Like I'm like kind of walking on top of the snow sometimes. So seeing them smushed down so deep, that was a big creature.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of snow photos of footprints, and that's
East.
gives testament to how big their steps are. You know what I mean? Because like walking through the snow, like I said, is different than walking through the woods. It's like that stride's got to be. Even someone like me, I probably would have to jump from one foot to the next one. Like some of the ones that I've seen photos of, you can just tell that they're just like so far apart. It's just like not much else can mimic that in the snow.
Yeah.
Right.
And then if you're trying to step that far, you're kind of pushing off, so your toes are kind of
exactly. I've done it. I've tried to mimic it.
Yeah.
I've tried just myself to mimic the walking in front of each other and to make a far step, and you just can't. You can't do it. And again, like I'm 6'7", so my legs are pretty long, and it's just you can't. Like you said, your foot it doesn't go down like that. It's like you said, it just like it's all messed up. It doesn't look like that type of footprint at all.
And
I'm jumping too.
Yeah, that'd be creepiest. I think it's something looking in your window.
Yeah,
I found.
Yeah.
were in that dry ground. They were at least 4 to 5 foot, in between.
That's a long step. That's
And
like
that was probably a 16-inch track. I can send you that. It's not the greatest picture because batteries were dying. Even though I've got all these damn solar battery chargers I had with me, couldn't keep a battery charge to save my life.
Oh, I'm trying to find this footprint. I just saw somebody on one of the squatch. Maybe Brian saw it. There's somebody. Maybe it was that Dan guy that we were talking about the Cadillac. One of those guys posted a picture. It was in the mud in the UP, and it was like a perfect shape of a foot. This was, I think, last summer.
We got a guy over in the neighboring county that's got some pretty good tracks
from the peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like the tracks are another thing. What's his name? The guy, the scientist or the anthropologist?
Meldrum.
Is that
Dr. Meldrum?
Yeah, Meldrum. That's what Brian Barber was saying earlier. He said we need to talk to Meldrum.
No, not Mel. Is that Meldrum, the guy who's a foot guy, and he knows about the
I think it's
the way
Meldrum.
the foot bends and
that Idaho isn't he at Idaho University or something, Jerry?
Yeah,
yeah.
Because somebody called him one day and they're like, "You got come out here and look at these footprints." And he said, and there was like a trail. So his first sighting of footprints was this trail we're talking about going across this long, muddy path, and there was like multiple footprints, from it walking. And he said right when he saw it, he knew because the sagittal crease or whatever in the middle of the foot, how it's different than ours, and you could see how it bends. And he knows what he's talking about, and and he can see that right away. So yeah, I would like to talk to him about some of that stuff too, and read his book. You read another book?
He was just on Miss V's channel the other day, Jerry. Meldrum was.
What do you guys think about what's that guy's name that tried to sue the U.S. government? He lives in Canada. About his footage.
Oh.
A lot of people don't like him because he's kind of obnoxious and a weirdo.
Was that Todd Standing?
Todd Standing.
Yeah. You guys think he's not the real deal?
I don't watch him.
A lot of I've talked to a lot of people about him. They think he's found stuff, but I think he made up a lot afterwards.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Do you guys think the footage that he has is not real?
Yeah, there's Mary Hoaxer.
I think he's in the right area, and he may have had. This is my personal opinion. He probably has had stuff, but I truly the one man the one picture of his that you could see his literal face in it, like the lip.
Yeah, so I've heard that. That's what I'm asking. Because why I'm asking too is because I've heard somebody that was telling the story once, and they said the Todd Standing footage, that's exactly what it looked like. But then again, maybe that person was making it up too and just kind of using his footage as but I just wonder because he's got some pretty interesting footage.
A lot of people have gotten into it and had experiences, but then they just start fabricating stuff because they're
for the views or popularity or whatever, trying to make money off of it or whatever that looks like.
I agree with that. I think he's had something in the past, maybe, and then seen what
just
it
got all excited
do for him, and then pushed the issue. Yeah. That's my feeling, but
I haven't even seen one, and I'm not trying to make
Exactly.
I'm just here to listen to everybody else's stuff. I'm not trying to make
I can respect him just on the fact of sitting out there in the ghillie suit or whatever by himself or whatever not. That's got to be, especially way up there in Canada. That's got to be. I don't know. You lived in Alaska. It's probably the same thing. I'm sure once you leave town and you're out in the middle of the woods, you're out it's not like around here when you're out in the middle of the woods. Probably a whole different type of middle of the woods.
Exactly, Wendell. That's the one thing that really just threw me curveballs. You could tell it was him.
had the same lip, that kind of
Oh yeah,
his lip went down. It's
eyes,
like,
everything. You couldn't. There was no mistake.
Yes. Was that Thinker Thunker? Somebody did the video where it kind of matched his face. Somebody did
yeah,
that.
they did like the computer thing
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
I mean, why I asked that too is not even just that those was just like at the end of his there's a couple little scenes that he has in that little movie he put out. And one of them was it's pretty much exactly what we were talking about when he got that log thrown at him. I don't know if you guys watched that movie he did or whatever, but he has the night vision one, and it's like a tall. You can see we're exactly what we're describing. This big old tall shoulder sticking out of this tree. And,
I know which one you're talking about.
And like to me, like that looked like it could have been something, but again, like I've never seen too much night like in with my own eyes up close, just besides stuff I've seen on the internet. So I don't know if it's real or not. But again, like I'll just take stuff for a grain of salt and just kind of, maybe that's real. But as the more people I talk to, they all say the same thing about him. So that's why I was just wondering what you guys think. There's too many other videos out there too.
Yeah, it's easy to do, Billy. Yep.
But I feel like that one lad, we were just talking about the junkyard. Like that lady's footage is crazy. And there's another one I saw. I want to say it was in Russia. It was on a campsite, and it was one that was running. There's like if you just type in footage. I don't know if you guys ever done it and just tried to like you got to just scroll. You got to scroll for. You got to literally dedicate hours to it. You can't just look for a minute because you're gonna have to scroll and watch a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of footage out there. There's a lot of footage out there. There was one I feel like there's some good footage.
I think it was MK Davis did one, and it was on one of the Sasquatch Chronicle episodes, the Tire Talker.
Oh yeah.
Jerry, have you ever heard that one?
Yeah.
That's a
I've
good
seen
one.
a lot of MK stuff. Yeah.
That one that MK did, that was a pretty good one. I like that one.
Yeah, he has some really good breakdowns of videos and photos and stuff. Yeah, actually back to Dogman, that Scott Carpenter Dogman.
Yes.
Is super creepy. That looks definitely. I've never seen one, but that looks like very well of a description of, the pointy ears with the big old snout. Geez, I can't like imagine being in the woods and like looking over and seeing that. Like,
so much more that guy could have done, man. It's a shame.
Yeah, but I mean, he's left his mark, and even with the portal thing, I'd like to like I don't like look
that video. If you really, not to interrupt you, that video, you sit back and watch that video over and over and over again. That is crazy. That is wild.
No, trust me. That's like. Did you guys watch the missing? Did you watch the missing 401 stuff? Because that's like that one, the last one, or maybe the second to last missing 401. They get into the portal stuff, and like to say that some of the people that are just kind of disappear out of thin air. That might be what is happening to some of these people. They just kind of, and like a lot of tribes, they'll talk about that too, like stargates and different stuff like that. And I don't think necessarily around here I've heard too much of like areas like that, maybe in water. But not necessarily in the woods, where you just kind of end up somewhere else. So there's too many people that are too, like whether it's like they have the credentials enough to not be on the internet talking about portals and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they're actually know what they speak with logic and knowledge. They're not just rambling and just like, or say if you don't know, Scott Carpenter, you might just think he's just another crazy squatcher, right? But you compare his stuff to like I said, some of this other stuff that David Plight has put out and stuff. Like I feel like that's why I brought that up. I feel like that portal, and then some people say like squatches come through the portals or whatever, or tied in with like the light beams. I will say I've seen the little light beams too in the woods, little orbs. Yep. Like so those are a thing too. That's
Have you seen orb?
Yeah. No? I haven't seen them up close, but I've seen them in a distance where it's just like I just saw for a second, just like the white, and it wasn't. I've seen light. It's not a lightning bug or nothing like that. Those are whole different things. So my brain is like, "Yo, is that an orb? Like that's crazy." I've seen multiple UFOs too. Like that's like No
That was my
question
next
about
question.
that.
That
My
was my
buddy,
next
I got video footage of cigar one my buddy's got that lives downtown here. And he's got this, he showed like I don't know if you guys seen the cigar footage, like there's multiple videos of those. Those are, yeah, so they're around here a lot. I've seen the glowing, they were seen over in New Jersey. What are they calling those now?
Yeah, the D words.
We don't
The D
speak
words.
that word.
Yeah. So
The
whatever,
D
I've
word.
seen one of those. Actually, I've seen,
Yeah.
I've seen one of
They're
those.
called
I've
like
seen,
plasma balls or something, right?
yeah.
You get in trouble.
Oh.
You start talking about that stuff.
I'll tell you what,
No,
I got to tell you though, as we're talking about this, is like worthy of sharing the story. So I'll try to tell it short, but it's like way too good. I got to have to fill in with some like, so South Dakota, I was there for a funeral
As
with
long
the
as it's not
girls
the D
dating.
word, we're fine.
Nope. So, we hiked up to, it's called Black Elk Peak, or it's Black Elk Peak is like the tribal word, but I think if you look at like state park, it's called Harney Peak, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing though, and it's a really high tourist spot, and it's like 10,000. I don't know. It's like it takes away to get up there. It takes like 3 hours to hike up to the to the peak, and it's like this beautiful view, and um we hiked up there we were there for one night, and it was going to thunderstorm, and it was like we only had so many hours in the day, so we hiked up in the thunderstorm. We even had to step off the rock as it's pouring rain and thundering like right in our face. And by the time we got up to the top, it was complete. The rain went away, and I'm trying to find a picture of this. That what I'm telling you, it's like really breathtaking. But you can imagine like uh clouds and stuff are all kind of succeeding, but you could see for like miles and miles across. Uh, and the sun was setting, so we sat up there and watched the sunset. And again, like it felt like we're above the clouds. You could see that we're above the clouds right there. Can you kind of tell what that is?
Yeah.
That's like clouds right there. So we're like above the clouds. And you can see for miles and miles and miles. And so we're up here watching the sunset, right? And we're not even thinking in our minds that we got to hike back down. And the sun is setting, and the girl I'm with rolls her ankle and
no.
can't walk. And we're up there, so we have to walk down. And I remember what night this was. This was the night that they called it, we've had all sorts of eclipses and stuff. And this was a night of a lunar eclipse, and they called it the umbrella eclipse. It was like 5 years ago or something like that's all I remember. It was the same night as the umbrella eclipse. And it was a full moon too. And we're walking down. She's got a little, stick under her arm, and we're walking down. Imagine like this walk is no easy walk in the park. This is like, you're up on the there's like backpacking type trail types, and like zigzagging back down however many thousands of feet. And it took us a good 5 hours in the dark. And my flashlight ran out. And by the time we got to the bottom, we had no light. So we're coming down after about a good 4 hours or whatever it took to get down. And at this point, we're at this spot where you can see the moon rising right there, and it's a full moon. So that's what we're using as our light when we can see a little bit. And again, like and actually we had our phone light, and our phone was about to die. So we only turn on the flashlight every once in a while if we really needed to see. And that particular night, like she saw first, she was like, "Oh, do you see that?" And I looked up in the sky, and it looked like, to me, it was like 8 or 12 dots in a perfect line. It wasn't the satellites, whatever the Starlink satellites. It was not. I've seen those. You can see those here all summer long. It's, swirling through the sky. They looked exactly like my like a Pac-Man dot. Like they were perfectly in a row, and say there was 8 of them. You could see all 8 of them, and one of them would disappear. And it looked like, so it looked like one would go black every, and you could see that it'd go like this. and kind of like you can imagine that, and then all of a sudden they all became into one and then disappeared, and that was probably the most intense, magical experience. Because not only that, like I said, there's like literally uh eclipse happening right here, and we just like went to what I just showed you those pictures of, and sat through that thunderstorm to get to that spot, and that that moment, that was like that wasn't just like a few seconds either. That like lasted like a good minute, like seeing those dots in the sky
Yeah.
like that, and that was like super intense because they weren't like small, they were like bigger than the star dots, you know what I mean? They're like how you can see Jupiter in the sky right now, it's like bigger. It's
Yep.
like it looked a little bit bigger than that, but more of a perfect circle rather than a glowing circle. That
I
that was
just saw
super intense.
I just saw a video on Small Town Monsters day before. It was a Sunday, yesterday. I can't remember, but it's within the last couple of days. Mary, from not Center County, but the next one west, Clearfield County, up near Du Bois. Same thing. They got actually it was Alexander Petikoff was there with a couple of his buddies and saw the same thing, something black, and it had dots, white. But when he inverted the video color, and you could really see it then.
Oh, he's got it on video?
Yes.
Because I've heard people talk about the same thing too. After I saw that, I've heard somebody else talk about it too.
Another guy that was with him, who's no longer alive, I think now. This happened, I want to say 2019 is when they experienced theirs. I think it was that year. But it
Wow,
was just a couple days ago, Small Town Monsters.
That might have been around the same time I saw mine too. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this was in the Du Bois, Pennsylvania area. So check that out.
Yeah, I will. Like I've seen, like I said, my buddy sees like stuff all that. Like I said, he has video footage. I have video footage of the white the ball thing, glowing ball.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of grainy because of the phone that took it or whatever. But yeah, those are seen a lot around here. And there's like some famous stories, like in Kingsley. I think there's like one that's been on a show multiple times around here of stuff like that. I don't know about necessarily the dots that we're talking about, but definitely some flying different things. I will say, as I was looking through these, this is actually the mound that I went to in the UP.
Okay.
That's actually looks like it's small, but if I was staying, I would probably only be, that's probably a 40-foot tall mound.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, you can tell it's Yep.
And you can see those trees like that. That's like an old sacred spot. And actually, this is the spot that I like to camp in the UP too. This is like literally out. Nice. Those woods across the lake, there's nothing there. Lake Superior is on the other side of that, and there might be a camper or two in those woods.
Right.
But for the most part, there's like nobody around. That's like on the Keweenaw Peninsula.
Okay.
But that's the type of stuff. Those are the type of areas I like to camp in and stuff like that. And I feel like you start to see stuff like that in the sky that we're talking about, because when you're in stuff like that, if you actually look up, a lot of people don't even look up a lot of the time. They're just kind of spending their day looking straight ahead or sometimes looking down.
Yeah, if I'm outside at night here, my eyes go to the sky all the time.
Yeah, there's just too much shooting stars. I actually one time I was driving on 80, I was heading back east. So I was on 80 east, heading back to Michigan. And I was like 3 in the morning in like Nebraska. So there's like nothing,
Yeah.
And it was like, and I like to drive through Nebraska at night if I'm taking that drive just for that reason. And I saw a meteor fall right in front of me, and it was the coolest thing ever. And it was like glowing and just like broke to the earth, and
it's crazy.
So
yeah,
awesome.
Catch a good shot of one. Yeah,
That
definitely check that Small Town Monsters video. I guarantee is exactly what you saw.
Is it similar. On YouTube?
YouTube, yeah, it's Small Town Monsters. Yeah,
I'm gonna type that in and look for that when we get off here. That's cool because that's, like I said, I've heard somebody else talk about that, and it's just something like that. I mean, the UFOs or even like the little glowing things, like if you can't, like my buddy, he's like automatic, like I know what I saw. I know those are alien or whatever. I'm like, bro, those could be totally like us. Like don't like that could be some black operation, like something that we don't even know, or like maybe being controlled, remote control by somebody somewhere else, and they're just like test flighting or whatever.
I promise you, you won't watch just one show there. They have years of shows, and they're Ohio based.
Oh, I feel like I've seen a couple of these. Yeah.
Yeah, they got some good stuff.
Oh wow, they do get a lot of shows on there.
Alexander, he's been out to Alaska. He's done a couple of features out there, a couple documentaries, broke down into different episodes. Pretty good stuff.
David, did you ever see anything in Alaska when you were there?
I didn't. I was only up there for a short time, but I never did. I didn't see anything in Alaska or hear anything, or it was actually pretty quiet when I was up there.
Because I've never been to Alaska, but I can imagine, because I've heard like when you're in Juneau, like you're in the city or whatever, but like I can imagine like in Oregon's like this, like like I said it right, because usually over here it's like Oregon or I would say Oregon. Actually, it took me a while to train my brain to say Oregon. And that's right?
It's Oregon, yes.
Yeah, it's Oregon. It's Oregon.
Yeah, because that's how I said it forever, and then like I got corrected so many times.
He can't even get the plural form of the word bear right. It's bears. He says bears. Everybody says bears.
Hey,
in
I ain't
school
gonna
it
try
was
to
bear.
offend anybody, but Pennsylvania, buck and doe.
Buck and doe.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
Yeah.
Two buck, 5 doe. I'm like, it's bucks and does. Sorry, Mary.
I mean, I've always heard Michigan
beers
has
and bears.
Yeah, beers and bears. There's like soda or pop.
I also get tired of the PA deer hunters that everybody that doesn't shoot a deer drives around with an orange cap on the dashboard. Oh, good God.
Is that me? I think I sometimes got an orange cap. It's not on my dashboard though. It's usually in the back. Sometimes I can't lie. Sometimes I don't wear orange, and it's probably. But if I forget it, I'm like, well, I'm still going in the woods.
Do you hunt?
Me?
At all? Or do you
no, I started to get into it. Like I said, like I just wasn't raised in it. That's probably why I never picked it up.
Sorry, everybody in chat if I offended any PA deer hunters.
I've heard PA's super squatchy though, right? Like that's actually one of the spots that's like super squatchy.
Greg.
Miss Mary.
Have, like,
speaking of Coonbo, there's the house.
Yep.
That's got the white squatch.
Yeah. Watch Monkey Winch, who's Mary Fabian. She has a show Monkey Winch, which will be on tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, she's the head
every
of the
Wednesday.
PA Bigfoot.
Pennsylvania Research, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Pennsylvania Bigfoot Research. But her show is Monkey Winch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about it. On the Beards and Boogers show.
Right there's the name that the show's under. Monkey Winch. And hi, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
But,
oh Lord, he's on the fort. He's on the throne with Troy Allen.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. That explains what he's been doing.
Yeah, Lycoming County White Squatch.
I guarantee you, some of these guys in the chat, if you get on the phone with them, David, you'll be on for at least 3 hours.
Oh yeah, I'm that person. You hear me? I'm a rambler. I'm quiet around most people, and like some people think I'm just like shy and super quiet. But I mean, I give me on something like that's because they're talking about something that I'm not really interested in. Give me talking about something I'm interested in, and I got all sorts of stuff to say.
Yep. And go give Mary some love, man. Watch her live show on Wednesday nights.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely check out Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project. Yep.
I'm gonna type that in too. What is that? There's that one guy. I can't remember who it is. Like somebody's got a foot. It might even be the white one. Maybe it is in Pennsylvania. He's like, it's like of some of the. I would say I'd like to say it's like famous footage where he's like talking. And he sounds like he's Southern, or maybe he's just like, I don't even know. I only know Michigan or like West Coast. I mean, I've traveled around the country, but like it's hard for me to pick up the dialect and tell them where they're from the dialect. But he hears something, or maybe sees eye shine in the woods, and he's like, "Oh, you only live once, better go!" And he runs into the woods with his camera, and he ends up getting a full view of the white squatch in that video. I don't know if you guys ever seen that video, but it's I'd like to say that's like uh the same squatch we're talking about. I want to say that was Pennsylvania, but I might be wrong.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
that's
the
in the
same
South.
one.
Carbondale's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's the same one.
Is she saying that's what I'm talking about? That's like the same. Does she know the footage I'm talking about? Because that's some good footage. That dude, like, you can see the eye shine clearly. You know, we talk about that. I do have, like, you know, like a, I don't know, 2000 lumen lamp that I like to shine in the woods, you know, occasionally, just to see for eye shine or whatever. And that eye shine in that video, you could tell is just like way up in the air. I mean, yeah, it could be something like in the tree looking around, but I don't know. Like, if you've been in the woods enough, you know the difference. That look like, and then he went.
Yeah, having a bright light is a must.
I didn't even get.
I won't go anywhere without a high lumen light. I mean, I like to light up the whole countryside when I go.
I know I need to get some good running lights on my truck. I've been like, I just got a new truck like a couple months ago, and I need to deck it out with like front. I've seen somebody with the back lights too, and put them on the front and the back.
What do you have?
A Sequoia, Toyota Sequoia. Because my tall ass can sleep in the back if I need to. Yeah.
But if you want a great light, there's a company called Cyclops, and you can buy some pretty good stuff pretty cheap.
Like the bar lights you can put on the top and stuff.
I'm talking about just flashlights.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really got into mounting all the lights on the trucks and stuff, but I'm just talking about for in the woods. And Art's like, Art, I think that one's probably over 800 lumen, and it's bright.
Yeah, because if you're saying 800.
It's that white light. I like using that, and it's great if you got to track animals during hunting season, or if you just want to illuminate an area. They're really bright and they're awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure if mine's white. It might just be LED, or I'm not really sure. But it's like 2,000 lumens.
Blaylock, if you don't have one of those, you need to get one because.
Does it say white light when you're looking at it? It'll say white light.
It's real bright, and he knows what I'm talking about.
I have good ones, but not that one.
Which ones do you have?
Oh, I'd have to go look. I don't recall the brand right offhand.
But those things are awesome for what I paid for them. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's like 1,000 lumens or 800 lumens or something like that. It's good. White light, real bright.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what Mary just said. At least 750 lumens per coon bow. We'll do that's a good rating per coon bow. We'll just use that.
Yeah, you guys keep saying like 750, but I swear mine's 2,000. I feel like because I like
it could be
1,500, but it's like bright. It goes deep into the woods. Like I didn't have a light that bright all the times I went camping, and I have other, I have like the little dangly lights or a smaller flashlight, even the one that you kind of just hang, and it's just like
Art. That's why I carry the Cyclops, because I've got them. I got them like 3 or 4 of them. And I got them spread out all over the farm. I just got them in random vehicles. I'm going to order a couple more just to have spares. But man, those things are nice.
Yeah, I think I heard Kumbo talking about that. I think he has one of the ones that you like hold, and it's got like it's down here kind of thing.
I mean, the spotlights are nice, but I like having a nice bright flashlight.
Yeah, me too. I like to be able to keep it in my bag because, like, I like to have a lot of stuff with me.
You can't stick a spotlight in your pack frame or your backpack. It's just too big.
It's gonna be clunky and big and annoying. Like, I like to have Like mine's actually like it looks like a mag light size.
Yeah, that's what
And
this. It's like it
that's
looks like
almost
a
too
small
big.
mag light.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's called Cyclops.
I want to get one. I saw one online and it has the I don't even know how many lumens, but it looks pretty bright. And then on the other side, it's got the laser pointer, so you can like start a fire kind of thing.
I think one of them's out in the
I want to
truck.
get one of those. What did you say the brand was?
It's called Cyclops.
Cyclops. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Sweet. Yeah, because I need that's something I need to buy before I do some night type. I want to do some winter and night hiking. Actually, you guys ever do that? Like winter camping?
Not too much.
Do you have like a stove when you do it, or do you sleep in a car?
We camp trailer here now. My wife can't really do tents or anything anymore, so we just take trailer out.
I was gonna, yeah, that's like to me, that's like you're gonna be cozy in that. I have a pull along. Somebody gave me a trailer. I never used it, and I usually just sleep in my if I don't sleep in my truck. I've slept in a tent though, with like a little buddy going all night. Then you gotta wake up at like 6 a.m. and switch the tank out, and you're like switching the tank, like breathe in, like
That's hard on old bones, man.
But I feel like there's something to that. Like everybody should do it just once because I feel like when you wake up in the morning and you're like the snows knock off your tent and you're like in that crisp, cold air and you start your fire, like there's something about appreciating life when you get back to the world, like doing something like that. Because then you're like kind of gain that little.
They got a 2,000 lumen. The 1500, which is one of the ones that I absolutely love. That's what I normally use. There's a 1200, which is a smaller, and then there's a 700, and then they got a little bitty one that's a 2000. But I mean, it's compact. It's tiny.
Right?
Because it's probably expensive. Sounds expensive. Yeah, the red light. That's what I was gonna say. I want a red light one because I've heard that like using red light, a lot of animals they won't run from it. But then again, part of the reason why it's good to have the bright light this is from Kumbo knowledge, is that's the one thing that they'll be afraid of if you get in that situation. Like they're not gonna necessarily they're gonna run from the light, whether it's their eyes or whatever that is.
Yeah, Brian's right about the red light. I have those too, and they work great.
Can you see far with them? Do they like? I've never had.
Yards.
It reflects eye shine really good.
Oh
and
yeah,
it just lights everything up red.
I can watch. I mean, I use the red light for predator hunting, but
same.
You can see the foxes out to 200-300 with the one that I have,
and they don't see the light, and their light spectrum doesn't pick up that light.
They don't really. It doesn't bother them. When you're sighting in on a fox or something with it, it just kind of just hangs around, doesn't it, David? They don't really look at it like even deer. It doesn't. Does it register with them?
Do you have like a red light and then like a white light? Like those are two different lights, or can you switch between?
Well, for that, it's just a red. It's not interchangeable. Not on that particular light that I use for predators. It's just a red light. I can switch it to a green bulb, and I think they notice the green more than the red. But
yeah, that's interesting.
As far as a flashlight, those Cyclops lights are. I really like them. You can. I was looking at them on the website, but you can get them cheaper off of Amazon.
Yeah, I need to. Before summer hits, I need to get because the flash that I got, I feel like the batteries only last like.
They run off of the ones that I have run off of number. They just run off of AA.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a mine. I think mine. Maybe mine is a AA.
Yeah.
I think it's 4 AA's. Yeah. Yeah. That light changed my life. Like I said, I try not to use it when I'm like doing anything at night. I never really have done any night hiking. I want to though. You guys do that type of stuff, like night hiking?
Not like off trails for us, but yeah, we'll leave the truck and go walk like up skid roads, logging roads and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I don't think I would go off trail at night either. Because like
yeah,
even the time I was on trail, it's like you can still get lost pretty easy, even if you know
yeah,
the trail. Like you can get off path super easy.
Yeah.
that's
There's a couple
right.
times, even on the trail that I know that I've walked many times, like, and it
Yeah.
was by the time I got to the car, it was so dark I really couldn't see,
Yeah.
and I was kind of getting nervous for a minute, just not being able to see. You see this? His cats came in and out like 7 times.
Jerry's
two
got
of them.
house cats.
Shoot
I
some
got
people.
2 of them. I know.
Yeah, how
all
cute.
Yep. Well, Mary,
He's my
you're
little
just
buddy.
crazy. You say you used to hike. Used to night
Nice.
hike.
Wait,
Well,
is
we've done a
PA
lot.
got the? Is PA got what? Where? Who's got that forest that breathes? That does like where the ground does this? You guys know what I'm
I
Right,
talking
know what you're
about?
talking
Oregon.
about.
It's up in the mountains somewhere, and it's like I don't even know what's doing that, but the ground like just goes like I don't even know. Like there's like a
I've heard
couple.
about that, but I can't remember where it is. I've
It's
heard about
somewhere over. I feel like it's Pennsylvania.
It's
Mary
probably
would know.
Oregon.
No, I think it's on the East Coast.
Yeah, Art just said I like Greg's idea of carrying road flares.
Eastern
I
PA.
carry road flares too. Art.
Levon. That's getting over Levon's territory.
Yeah, one thing that actually I always carry too is the trail markers. If I go off, like I have like little flags that I'll clip up. Actually, with that UP trip, I pretty much used up most of mine. That last time, like, it never went back and got retrieved them because
Wow.
I didn't take the same way back.
Yeah. I think
Wow.
we're definitely going to have you back on, David.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, maybe I'll link up with Brian and we can
Yeah, that would be
formulate some
awesome.
pictures together and maybe even do some squatching together and kind of talk about it. Because there's definitely I like I said, like even these stories I'm telling you, and I'm like super into. I could tell. I probably listened to hours, like
Yeah.
10,000 hours of Squatch stories, like and like read
Hey, when
stuff. And
we do our marathon show, we'll have to get you on.
yeah, I'm down. Like I could talk. I'm one that like we could go for 3 more hours, like for real. Like I could talk,
Well,
circle
I don't
back and
know if
talk
you
about.
ever watched Squatch and Holler Roger Williams in the chat, but he just did a show, and they did one with Kumbo and Greg and a couple other of our friends. 6 hours
Wow.
all night.
I mean, honestly, I'm the type of person that would listen to all 6 hours
Yeah,
though, not even be in
I
it.
fell asleep and I woke up and listened to the rest.
Or be like that's my work day. You know what I mean? Like that my work day consists of that 6 hours of
I
that
understand,
podcast.
Monkey
Like,
Wench or Mary. I understand. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, definitely.
no,
We'll
that's
definitely get you scheduled again. You
Yeah.
and Brian definitely hook up, man. You guys, I think you could do some really good out there together. Doing some
yeah, I was
stuff.
gonna say because I mentioned it in the chat last time and he kind of brought it up. Oh, this is another thing that I just thought of because he's in Lake Ann and there's a grocery store in Lake Ann and it's pretty. This area has kind of grown over the last 10 because it's actually Traverse City is known for the most beautiful beach town in America. There's all sorts of number ones, like National Geographic, like the must visit town type stuff. There's been all sorts of lists that it's been on. So there's a lot of people that come here. So there's like some of these smaller towns aren't so small anymore.
Right.
Especially like I said, me growing up here, I used to roam these woods just freely and just like, run 10, 20 miles. I mean, 20, but really far, and then like, oh man, it's getting dark. Maybe I got to find my way back home. Like definitely lots of those adventures growing up. But either way, like the Lake Ann grocery, just, being around town talking about Squatch with people. Somebody had told me that Lake Ann used to have a print in the store that they got that they cast in the dumpster out back in the 80s, and it was like in the store until they whoever bought it. Maybe I don't know if it's the last person that bought it or the person before that, but whoever originally owned that cast took it with them when they sold the store, so that's why it's no longer there. But yeah, and maybe we can get together and gather up some more of these type of stories, because like I said, I was kind of ill prepared today. I just like I said, I was in New York.
You were ill prepared.
I'm just saying, I was in I was in New York last weekend, and just like I came back to a job that I needed to finish up. I mean, I don't necessarily have a deadline, but I don't get paid till the job's done. So
that's right.
I'm trying to get the job done.
Understand?
So, yeah.
Are you doing fine?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm a rambler. So if you guys let me ramble, I'll ramble. I might trail off this way, but I'll try to bring it back.
Circle back.
We'll find out real quick about everybody else in this group. That's all we do is ramble. And we say we're not going to do anything past 2 hours. Next thing you know, it's
1 hour, Jeff.
I know. What do we have?
1 hour is my hope.
That's why
I can't condense all this into 1 hour.
There's no way. Like I was wondering that, because like I was thinking that too. I was like, there's no way it can just be one, because I know like it's starting to break.
Gary, I haven't yawned once tonight.
Yep, you're right.
Yes, you have. I've seen you.
No, I have not.
Yes, when you got up and walked away from the camera, I've seen it.
Ain't no yawning.
Anyway,
I feel like you adjust in your seat when you're starting to ramble.
I got to get up 4.5 hours. I got to get up 4.5 hours. So.
I've got my kid tomorrow morning, and he's got a 2 hour delay already, Jerry, because you know how, oh my God. What are we going to have the kids in school till June? Jesus.
Wait, they don't even do delays here anymore. It's just like cancel.
The roads are clear. Why?
This is going to tell my age, David. I'm 35. 07, they still, treated school like it was normal. And as soon as I graduated, next thing you know, now it's like, everything's an emergency now. Half-hour delays. God forbid we get an inch of snow due to inclement weather.
Yeah.
We will.
I mean, I'm in Lower Canada, so it's like sometimes I wake up in the morning and it's like there's school. Holy, like can't even see anything. But like you said, like the school will go till June or whatever if they.
That's how they used to do it
all the time.
They never stopped. Jerry will tell you this. Maryland never stopped. Now they're so worried about getting in trouble.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm not mid-40s, so
Mary, be careful with that.
I know how it used to be. Maybe not how it used to be.
Levon, I feel like a dinosaur.
You don't look 40 though, David. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's that Native American. Kids. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's
35, 40. Make me feel like grandpa.
I'll be 47 in February. That's like last month. Like I don't even.
Wow.
I'm knocking out 50's door.
I'm 11 in front of you.
Hey, my girlfriend's 47.
Dude, you want in or out? Come in or out? What are you even doing out there? It literally does this all night too, and I can't keep my other door open. I can't keep it open because I have another cat too, and they'll both come in here.
Oh Lord,
yeah.
Harry's got 2 cats.
I got 2. I know about it.
And David's got 2 dogs that are the size of cats.
Yeah,
I need to get a dog.
I'm really surprised. I heard, was it Lincoln or Peanut barking earlier?
I think it was Peanut let out a couple little bars. Yeah, they're kind of quiet. I think they're cold in there with mom in the bed.
They're min pins.
Yeah,
that's same way here, Brian Barber. Same way here. That's why they canceled today. The roads were pretty clear. I mean, the main roads are clear.
The
back
roads
were
very
drivable. It was just cold, really cold.
Yeah, what is it there?
At the bus stop freezing to death.
Like
way back in the day. 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you go somewhere like Arizona and it rains and everybody pulls over to the side of the road. You're like, what are you guys doing? It's just raining.
Yeah.
Relax.
I guess we got to bring you back on. If Catherine and everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Everybody's liking this.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Okay, I'm pulling the plug. I got to get up early in the morning, so.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, David. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back for sure. Invite me. I'll definitely want to come back. If everybody wants to follow me, Skin Kwando on all the socials and YouTube. I do music and.
And what do you mainly do on your channel? Is it just music?
It's all music related, but like I said, I think I was gonna kind of make a separate channel for the adventure stuff because, like I said, I have so much because I've recorded specifically for the purpose of editing. You know what I mean? Like filming like the all the stuff that I edited all together. So I have so many hours. Like I just haven't sat to do it, and I feel like I'm about at that because I just got a new program to help me edit. So I think I'm gonna start dumping a lot of that stuff down. It's actually called now I forgot. I might have to go.
I need an extra 5 minutes.
It's called Reaper, and it's actually it's a recording program for music, like audio record, but you can also use video. It also works for video. I have iMovie in that too, and maybe I'll use that. I haven't really used it yet, but I'm gonna try Reaper for now. And yeah, and I feel like I have enough footage to. Yeah, I'll check out Monkey Wrench tomorrow night.
7:30. Yep. Definitely.
Is that Tuesday night? Wednesday night? Tuesday. What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow night. Wednesday
night. Yeah, like
every
I said,
Wednesday night, 7:30.
I know I heard you guys talking about it on the Beards and Bugger #2 or whatever. I was listening to that the other night, and you guys were talking about all the shows in a row and how you can't catch all of them.
That's the night when we're not serious.
Oh yeah.
But that's good. That's like campfire stories and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorta.
Yeah. And pick on each other. I was noticing that. It sounds like the locker room talk.
I was very mild with the young man beside me tonight, so I felt bad. I called him at 8:30 this morning. He was still in bed asleep.
Well, that was because I was in charge of my kids, so I couldn't do anything yet. And I'm laying there. I'm like, what the hell is Jerry calling me down? I'm like, oh shit, that's why.
I'd already been to southern end of the county.
I don't sleep in that much, but I had to stay up late last night because of I was monitoring some things on the road.
Yeah, we won't get into that here.
Yeah,
driving all night.
No. Let's just say, ne'er-do-wells in the area.
Yeah,
wandering around. So someone was up prowling around.
Not of the creature type. Yeah.
Not of the creature type.
Not of the creature type. Idiots.
Maybe a creature in a different language.
With that than I do a creature type.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys were talking about that. Like when it comes to the woods, I'd be way more afraid to see another human in the woods at night than I would of anything else.
I am.
Yeah, 100%. Even in the daytime, like if I see a human, I'm questioning right away. Like, a lot of times it's just weird. Like, yeah, 100%.
It comes that 1 hour goodbye.
Yeah.
Look at it. Takes a half hour to say goodbye. Yeah, yeah, I get it. We can come circle back.
Absolutely.
You guys got to go. Yeah, I'll try to find that.
It's funny, but I do the Irish goodbye on occasion.
On occasion?
Usually on the late night chat.
On occasion?
David's seen it. David does it too.
No, that. Me and my buddy, every time I talk to my buddy on the phone, like even if it's like I'm like, okay, it's gotta be quick. Literally an hour. Minimum.
Yeah.
Every time. It's like, yeah, I had to go like an hour ago, and now I'm just spending it on the phone with you this whole time.
My
Like,
father,
for the hour
my
goodbye.
father will be in the middle of a business conversation and he'll just turn the damn thing off.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Get me
circle
out of
back.
here, Monkey Winch. Get me out of here.
Nice meeting everybody.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's nice
man.
meeting you,
Thank
David.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Gary.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
We'll do it again.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, we'll be looking forward. Hopefully, you get your channel, crank it up with some footage and stuff. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely email you about it.
Definitely. Okay. With that said, we're back here next Tuesday night, 8:00. Milkman, who we got?
I'll
Oh boy,
I'll work on it. You know me, I always got something going on.
Mr. Blaylock. Thank you, sir. Good to see you back.
Good to be back.
Keep your phone
Nice
charged
to-
from now on. Beards and Boogers. People ask about that show a lot. Got a busy week. I'm not sure. We'll see. I don't know if we'll have one this weekend. I said we wouldn't have one this past weekend. We ended up having one Sunday night. So we'll see.
Next week, I don't know. I got plans next weekend, so I don't know. You guys can do one. I ain't going to be offended. At least I'll be able to watch it because I can't watch myself on videos.
Your shelf. All right. Thank you, David, once again. Man, look forward to seeing you again. Talk to you.
Yeah, likewise.
Rest of you,
I'll
thank
be
you
in
for
the
being in
if
chat.
not.
Yep. Like, subscribe, and share. It's free. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And
Thanks, chat.
we'll see. Yep. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yep.